Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take episode 242. I'm your host, Justin Easy, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are you this week?
It's okay week.
Is work still beating you down?
No, I expected it to be really busy this week, and then a lot of stuff actually got pushed back to next week. But then a lot of stuff got railroaded to the end of the week, and like I had to travel and all the other stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not. My wife is out of town for her job, so I've been here. It's just been me, and I had to take care of the cats when they get home.
Shit.
When I get home and stuff like that. So, yeah, usually we split the duties, but I have to like play with them and stuff like that, which I always do. But usually when she's here, they have more attention with her because she works from home. But since she's gone for business, they've been a little antsy lately. So I have to, check on them and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's been a rough couple of days.
Well, man, home alone, you didn't have like a party or nothing while she was gone?
No, it's actually like super hard to sleep when she's like not next to me. So
yeah,
I'm having trouble sleeping. Oh my god!
Love. Everybody's so gooey lately. What's going on? The boys chat, everything. We got a baby in the group chat now. So our new baby.
Congratulations to Andy.
Yes, sir. But yeah. Well, life's been I'd say better for me, I guess. Work's starting to kind of not slow down, but the crazy workload is like starting. We're kind of at the end of it now, and hopefully the next week or two I'll be able to get my equilibrium back a little bit in terms of work-life balance.
Okay.
So I'm doing better, but haven't played a ton of stuff this week actually though. Just had a lot of stuff to do in life around the house and stuff, so but we'll get into that here in a second. Montrell, let's get into the show proper. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montreal, I wanted to start us off today with something a little gaming adjacent, I guess, not necessarily gaming related. Did you see this, that Crunchyroll is launching a 24/7 anime TV channel?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they announced this earlier this week, and they're gonna play shows 24/7 on a television channel. And is it 2023 or what? Like, what are we doing here? This feels like the total opposite place something like Crunchyroll should be going to me. Right? Am I crazy?
Maybe they have some kind of metric where they see other channels in other countries or other places still have TV. They still use TV for the primarily to watch stuff. And
yeah,
I mean, and if the channel is like online as well, like if you can access it from online, that would be like very cool as well. I can see myself like watching it.
I know for Japan that anime is still played on television, like primarily, or at least as far as I know. Like new shows, like new episodes of shows are aired on television over there still, as far as I understand it. So, I mean, maybe that's what they're going for. They're trying to, I don't know, like see if they can do the same thing here. The problem is, like, what are you doing all day? You're just rerunning episodes of anime all day. Like, I just don't know.
I think it would be like a Cartoon Network thing. I can see it happening. I can see them doing it. I can see. I mean, it's like any other TV channel. It's just anime all day.
I know, but is anime like is it going to generate enough of an audience on television to make it worth it? That's what I don't understand.
You also got to think too, like outside the box a little bit. Since I've been traveling, I mean, you travel too. I mean, how many times you go into a hotel room and you probably forgot your Fire Stick or something like that, and you're forced to watch whatever channel is on TV. like
Yeah.
whatever channels they have. So I'm assuming as well, like if you get all that broadcasting, all the hotels across the world and shit like that, then yeah, like I would just put the anime channel on and probably fall asleep to it when I'm in a hotel room, especially when I'm on
Yeah.
business because I don't really travel with the. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who don't travel with a Google Stick or a Fire Stick, and I don't like logging into Netflix on like the TVs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, um, for me, this would be perfect. I mean, I think it's a very situational thing, but I mean, I also do feel like the streaming phase or craze rather is almost coming to an end. I think a lot of people are starting to realize like it's kind of a ripoff now. You might as well just get cable. Like I know a lot of my friends are actually like, I think I'm about to just go back to
I guess,
cable.
is that what you think is happening? Are we ebbing? Are we like, streaming is peaked and we're going down to a valley with it, and TV's now gonna come back up? I
I
mean,
mean, if
because
you
I
think
see
it,
what you're talking about. I like streaming. And like it feels like every 6 months these streaming services are up in their price, and like Netflix is what, like $18 a month or some crazy
I
shit
think it's
now.
going to be $20 a month now.
20 bucks, $20 a month. I mean, it
Yeah,
is getting to the point where it might be time to cancel it, and stop taking it for granted. Because I don't use Netflix very often personally. Like I
hmm,
almost never use it. I like I'd say every three months I might watch a show on it. Maybe that might,
yeah.
like, I'm not even sure that's true. A lot of the time. So I know what you're saying, and this is happening. Like Disney Plus, like, is having a huge price hike, and all of them are doing this. I mean, we just saw PlayStation increase their subscription service cost in gaming, and Microsoft did it too with Game Pass. Like, it's happening all over the place. Like streaming, like we are definitely on the way towards streaming, because the streamers aren't really making money still, and in order to make money they need to charge more. That's like the only way they're going to do it, because advertising is just not a real revenue stream for them ultimately. So yeah, I mean, I guess, like, if that's the play here with Crunchyroll, like if Crunchyroll is thinking the same thing, and obviously they're a streaming service for anime, if they're thinking the same thing, maybe they're thinking, let's get into television because we think TV might have some kind of resurgence, I guess. But man, the idea of going back to fucking the idea of going back to television after 15 years of streaming, 10 or 15 years of streaming, I can't imagine it, dude. I hate television, like cable. I
I
fucking hate cable, dude.
I I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to have some kind of hybrid deal. Maybe
Mhm.
you can get cable, right? You get like this is just an idea. So you get Spectrum or whatever, but you pay $60 for Spectrum. But if you pay an extra additional $20 from Spectrum, you can get cabling with no ads, and you get like half the channels with no ads. So they just play, what's live on TV or whatever.
Yeah.
But you get no ads or whatever the case may be. Now I don't know how that would work. Maybe certain channels they already have it like in the DVR or whatever, where you can just like fast forward to it or whatever, or maybe did some kind of streaming thing.
Yeah, but if we're
Uh,
watching live TV, it's built into the broadcast.
yeah, it's built into the broadcast. So I don't like I said, I don't know. I know there are still a ton of people, like my parents, for instance, they still have cable. They're not going anywhere for another 30 years. You know what I'm saying? God bless them. Uh, but like realistically, they're not going away for like another 30 or 40 years. So that's still
Yeah.
another 30 or 40 years of cable available.
Mhm.
We're getting older as well. Um, and then I think a lot of kids aren't going to be able to afford like Netflix, Crunchyroll, and all these other streaming services. So it makes sense, in my opinion, to be like, all right, let's try to stand out and go into a different route. This may be like a last hurrah because everybody has some kind of anime. I think even Disney has some type of anime on their shit too. So it's
Mhm.
like Hulu has anime, uh, um, Netflix has anime, HBO Max has anime. So what am I really going to Crunchyroll for? I can get HBO Max, get all the anime that I might want, and still get good movies and TV shows. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably just a different avenue.
Yeah.
Maybe for like some like I said, not necessarily third world countries, but countries that still use TV as their primary source of like entertainment, not
Mhm.
streaming.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. It's just so weird to have had streaming become a thing and be a thing for so long, and it does feel like it's gonna wane soon. I don't know.
Think about it. When was the last time, besides Castlevania, what was the last show you watched on stream? Like, when was the last time you binged a show on stream?
I mean, I do it I don't know, every few weeks I pick up a show. I don't watch shows not on streaming, so I like
Yeah,
I am their core customer, I guess. The problem for me with the streamers is that it's become like this piecemeal fucking everyone's on their own little island, and if there's certain show I want to watch, I have to go to like fucking Hulu to find it or some shit. Like Vinland Saga was a good example. I was watching that on Crunchyroll, right? They had the first season. And I wanted to watch the second season on Crunchyroll. It's on there for free, but you need an account to be able to watch it. And for whatever reason, their fucking website is broken for me. I cannot log into my account on their website. So I could not watch the show that way. So I searched around and found it on Netflix. Netflix happened to have Vinland Saga like season 2 subbed. So I watched it there, so I just got lucky that that's the case. But if it wasn't, I would have been out of luck, dude. I would have had to pirate it or some shit, like that would have been the only option I would have had. Because I could not log into my Crunchyroll account. Even if I wanted to buy Crunchyroll, like pay for Crunchyroll, I couldn't do that either. Like their site was just broken for me. But if you're talking like Disney is a good example. I have never had Disney Plus, and I don't have Disney Plus, and there's a bunch of shows on there that I kind of do want to watch, but I'm just not like, some of the Star Wars shows and Marvel shows, but I'm not interested enough to go pay the money to subscribe to it because I'm already subscribed to Netflix and fucking, I'm subscribed to Amazon Prime too. It's like I don't need 4 of these, at any given time just to watch all these different shows,
Yeah, and to me, Amazon Prime is the one that's really not taking advantage of what they have, because they have what other streaming services don't have. Having Amazon Prime actually means something tangible to the real world. I get Prime deals. I get, faster delivery and everything of that nature. And on top of that, I get this streaming service. If I was them, I would try to go out my way to start buying some of the rights to these popular shows, even some of the Star Wars shows or whatever, make a partnership with Disney or something like that to get your shit into my system, because I have Prime deal. We both have streaming services or something like that. But that's just me. I mean, that's what I would do. But I agree with you. Like, we just got rid of Disney Plus, and I feel bad because I really wanted to watch Ahsoka, but I can I can pirate it if I want to. But I really wanted to support, the actress and stuff like that. But I really wanted to watch Ahsoka, but I don't watch anything else. And like her mom, we was using her mom's account, and her mom's like, I don't really watch anything on Disney anymore. So I just got rid of it. So it's like, and then we don't use really HBO Max like that. I barely use Hulu. I use Hulu because she still has it, and I don't even know why she still has it, because we both watch YouTube all the time. We both have YouTube Red, and we just watch like cooking videos with each other and all this other shit like that. Like YouTube is, if I was to have like the little metrics at the end of the month, how they do for video games, to see what video games you play the most and everything like that, like YouTube would be my most watched app.
Me
of
too.
The year.
I think that's the same for me too, dude.
Yeah.
I don't I don't use Netflix that much. I don't watch shows on Amazon Prime that often. I definitely don't, and I don't have Disney Plus. I don't have Hulu. I don't have NBC or Peacock, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't have Paramount.
And
I don't have any of those.
And like the only reason I would get Peacock, I think they have Fresh Prince, and they have Fresh Prince.
Yes,
and they have The Office, and like The Office was my go-to. I watched The Office so many fucking times, where that was like I'll have that in the background while I'm doing some work or something like that in college or some shit like that. That was my go-to. Now for Hulu, I just replay Frasier while I'm like cleaning the house or something like that. I actually like that show a lot. But
coming back, man.
Yeah, and it's back. But isn't it like when Netflix is back?
I have no idea. But
I think it's
the guy Kelsey Grammer is coming back as Frasier. So
I think the first episode aired already, didn't it? I want to say it did.
I don't. Yeah, it may have. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I'm not even looking forward to that though. Like, why is it coming back? Like, I don't know.
I,
It
I
just
don't know. Yeah, I do think we're in that phase with TV right now. Like I feel like 10 years ago we were kind of in a golden age period, and I don't think we're in that period anymore. Like I don't think TV is nearly as good as it was back then, you know.
yeah,
Um
it's an ebb and flow. Like we get to this
yeah.
air. I mean, because remember in the early 2000s they were kind of making remakes. Not on TV. I think there was TV shows they were remaking, like older TV shows, but like even uh movies they were remaking and or bringing back in like the early 2000s, like the mid 2010s. Like because like for instance, 21 Jump Street. That's an old either TV show or movie.
Mm,
Um, so that's like and Get Smart and all that other stuff like that. Like those are old shows and movies and stuff like that.
Starsky
That
and Hutch.
yeah, Starsky and Hutch is a good example. Um, I mean, I just think now we did have a good era, like a good 10 years, like you said, like maybe from 2013 or 2010,
No, I'd
maybe
say like I'd put it earlier, like 2008 through
2008. Yeah,
probably like 2018 or 2020, somewhere in there. Like when
yeah,
AMC got big, that's kind of my landmark point, and that's when
yeah.
Walking Dead
TV shows were
started.
good, but like movies were terrible. I
Oh
mean,
no, yeah,
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 movies were terrible. They were all superhero movies. Like that was the big thing now. And I hate to be that guy, but thank fucking God superhero movies are dying. Like I can't do it anymore. I think Marvel has done irreparable damage to
yeah,
all
yeah.
forms of media.
Mhm.
Like not even joking, even video games.
Oh,
Um
absolutely. Games is still it's still that style of dialogue and writing is still in games right now.
it's even the way it's paced. Like God of War Ragnarok is a Marvel movie. If you go back and play it, it's nothing but a
Yeah,
fucking Marvel movie, and it's so
yeah.
annoying, bro. I'm like, who did this writing? Well, I mean, it's still a good game. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's still a good game, but like
I know
compared to
what you mean,
one,
though. I know what you mean. Yeah, I guess
yeah, yeah, they have like the Loki type character in there, and you know all this other like it's just a Marvel movie, and it's like I don't know. In other games, try to mimic the Marvel thing or whatever, which is funny because like Josh Whedon started all that stuff, right? And then you go back and you watch like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that shit, it may be corny, but that writing is, whew, that's some good ass writing. It was like the third
Mhm.
season I was watching, like, God
Yeah,
damn, this is a good ass show.
yeah.
Like I think she lost her mother or something like that, and they didn't play
Oh
no
yeah.
music throughout the whole episode, and then she was just like, it was just like the her coming to terms like I just lost my fucking mother, and there was no reason why she lost her mother. It just happened. Like it was just a random thing that happened.
Mhm.
It wasn't a part of the show. I mean, it wasn't like a vampires killed her or ghouls or anything. It was just like she woke up one day and her mother was dead, and the whole show was about people accepting that shit. And I was just like, damn, Buffy, whew, okay. I see why you had a lot of seasons. I didn't understand it when I was younger, but now I understand it now. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like older video games too, when you like the gameplay may not be that good, but the writing in the video game, the pacing and everything is like really good. And you're like, man, I really understand what they were trying to do, what they were trying to do with it.
Mhm.
But now it seems like everything is formulaic, and it really shows in video games, like Call of Duty games, in my opinion. It really shows. Um, like for instance, Modern Warfare One, Modern Warfare 2019, and Modern Warfare Two. As much as I like those stories, they follow the same like it's not Marvel, but they follow the same Jason Bourne esque SWAT movie type, army movie type thing. Not Save It Private Ryan type army movies, but like the newer, more tactical army movies. And you're like, I already seen this. This is nothing but Jack Ryan. This is Jack. This is this is Reacher, or this is Mission Impossible. Like I've seen these big set pieces, and then you compare it to like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 or whatever, or Modern Warfare 2 is a really good example where like I feel like everyone wants to compare like 2019 or Modern Warfare 2, the newer one, the house clearing section, to where you're actually clearing the house and you can actually shoot civilians while you're clearing the house. Like you're like in this medieval, or not medieval, but Middle Eastern type. setting, you're clearing the house for things, and it was I assume it was very controversial. And then they had another one in 2019 where they did a simulation of the Trail of Tears, where like the U.S. bombed Iraq, or a lot of Iraqis in the real life. We bombed them while they were trying to escape. It was like civilians, and we bombed them. And they did the same in Modern Warfare 1, but it was the Russians who bombed like this made up Middle Eastern people's. They were trying to do it as well, but they made the Russians do it instead of the Americans. So it was like they did cop outs, right? But then like, and I mean, granted, in Modern Warfare 2, like the Russians, or one of the Russian people, like, no, it wasn't the Russian people. It was like another country who framed America for doing that. But you remember the fucking, I don't know if you play Modern Warfare 2, the old one, but like the fucking airport scene that everyone talks about, like where they commit, where you, the player, are committing a mass shooting. And it's like, that's fucking controversial as fuck. And it's like really good writing the way they incorporated the story. And then if you know you're doing all this stuff, and then your buddy Ghost dies at the end of the damn show, at the end of the campaign, it's like those are huge risks to take. And like we just don't have writing like that in video games anymore. And it's just, I don't know. It's just,
I mean, games don't have the balls to do stuff like that anymore. Not in this safe environment, I guess we're in right now.
It's just so formulaic right now. I don't. Where's the risk? You know, like,
well, it's just boring. You can't say certain things. You can't do certain things. You can't talk about certain things. Like,
yeah,
it's like I don't know. I mean, like, I personally, I feel like in life, like most topics shouldn't be off limits, especially when you're trying to make something artistic, I guess. You know, if you're trying to send some kind of message with what you're doing, like there really shouldn't be too many topics that are off limits, you know, as long as it's tastefully done, you know, it's not done in some, you know, tasteless way.
Well, that's why I like Cyberpunk and like The Witcher. They tackle certain things on both sides of the aisle. And they do it in a tasteful manner. It's not like they're taking a choice. It's like, it's your choice on where you choose to go with this, but there's consequences behind each one. They show the
consequences of the choice, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people get upset about that idea. You know, it's like, but I don't. If you're gonna make a game like that, you know, like Cyberpunk or The Witcher, like you kind of have to represent both realities. You know, you can't funnel the player into a certain direction, otherwise it's going against what your game is. You know.
Exactly.
So, and I don't know, things like 6 Days in Fallujah, like just the existence of that game offends people, and I don't.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, that game is like. Remember, dude, that game is a resurrection from the grave, because that was an old game back in the PS3 era that was trying to be made, and it got killed because of the controversy surrounding it. You know, and I just don't understand why that. Why are we so offended by the idea of telling that story? You know, I don't. Like, what are we scared? What are we so scared of? I don't know.
I mean, we don't get games like Spec Ops: The Line. Like, that wouldn't have happened if that studio didn't take the risk they did in that game, actually exploring like morality and PTSD from the main character's perspective and everything like that. Like, I don't know. It's just a lot of games don't really like deal with that. Even like Gears of War 1 through 3, like they were dealing with some heavy shit in that game. Like that game was written really well, in my opinion. And now like a lot of the games are just like, they're just meeting like check boxes, if that makes any sense. Like, oh, do we have the black person? Check. Oh, do we got the woman? Check. Do we got the white guy? Check. Do we got the Mexican guy? Check. And it's like they're not really writing the characters. And I think that was a lot of people's issues with like Saints Row, the new one, because it felt like
they took out all the edgy stuff and tried to make it safe and PG, and it's like, that's not. Saints Row has never been that. Why are you trying to like if GTA tries to do that with GTA 6, right?
That's what I'm scared for GTA 6.
It'll be the same problem.
Really, I'm really scared.
Could really torpedo that game's success. I think actually.
Because 5 took a lot of risk. It had great storytelling. and it was. I mean, GTA has always been tastefully untasteful, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
uh, but it's always been on the edge of like sarcasm. Like this
Mm.
is the extreme version of what what our vision of the world is. And I respect Rockstar for that. A game like The Bully could not exist today. Like
Or Manhunt.
oh shit, yeah, Manhunt that couldn't exist either. But like I feel like
that one struggled to exist back then, though.
exactly. But like I don't know. When I play games like The Bully, though, I love that game. But your whole objective was literally bullying, and it's like I don't think kids would be encouraged to bully. Like, first of all, the game's rated M for mature, so there are grown ass people playing this game. And
Mhm.
on top of that, like I don't think people will be encouraged to like bully. So I don't fucking know. I just feel like writing as a whole has taken a back seat. And like I respect like the writer's strikes and all that stuff. And I know they deserve their just desserts, and I'm for it. But it's just like at the same time, okay, y'all got y'all just desserts now. Can we get some good quality writing back? Not to say like all games that have come out within the last 5 years have been bad writing. It's just I just want, especially like American Western studios, we used to like excel at writing. Like Mass Effect was like
Mm.
peak writing to me. Old Dragon Age Origins was like peak writing back in the day and shit like that.
and then you get Andromeda.
And then you get in fucking Andromeda, and people will
And
still try to.
whatever this new Dragon Age is gonna be, dude, I have no faith in it as a game.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's just weird. I really hope like BioWare is a really good example of this. I really hope they lean into what they do the best. And I understand what they try to do with like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. They wanted to appeal to the masses while retaining that RPG focus. Whereas I feel like they should have like kind of kept their core gameplay with Mass Effect. I wouldn't mind
Mm.
the improved mechanics of Mass Effect 1. You know what I'm saying? I do like Mass Effect 2 and 3 because their combat is really good. But I wouldn't have mind the improved mechanics of Mass Effect 1 if I still got that peak writing that I got in Mass Effect 1, that peak world building.
Mm-hmm.
Where you could look at like a game like Larian Studios, where they're like, we know this style of game, and we're just gonna fucking write this game, and we're gonna do what we do best with this game, which is our D&D action, or our D&D turn based style of combat, and they just perfected it to where people who don't even play those games have no choice but to play that game and be like, this is some really good shit. Like I can do almost anything in this game, and the voice acting's good, the writing's good, and everything like that. Like it was so good that people had to come out and say, "Don't expect this from other games." And it's like, but why? Why can't we? Why can't we get
Mm-hmm.
that peakness from BioWare? Like they invented this genre, not invented it, but they brought this to the forefront and showed us like this is what we can do. Like this is the future. Like Jade Empire, Mass Effect, Couture, they brought that shit here, and
I think
I
it's
don't
that
know.
mentality though of like don't expect this from other studios that is the problem. It's like we're trying to coddle developers. Like we can't hold them accountable. We can't criticize their games. We can't call out when something's bad or not good or not done well, or when the
Yeah,
writing is poor. We're not supposed to do that. Like that like we have to protect these people. They're precious. Oh, video games are precious. And it's like, no, they're a product, and products can be criticized, and again, you can respectfully criticize.
yeah.
There's
Not when they getting like death threats and shit. I don't agree with
That's
that
not
at all.
acceptable, right? That's not what
Yeah,
I'm talking. That's not what I'm defending. What I'm saying though is we're not going to get better stories. We're not going to get better games. We're not going to get better game design unless we are critical and like tell studios when they're doing something wrong, or when they've done something poor, or a game isn't up to snuff in some way, or the writing is poor, calling that out and explaining why, like that. It's not going to get better if we don't do those things. And if the people who are making games don't want to receive that criticism, then we're just going to plateau. The industry's just going to plateau. And in some ways, I feel like it is. In some ways,
I
like
was just gonna say that I feel like we're already reaching that age of plateauing, even with microtransactions and stuff like that. I feel like it's unfortunately on the way here. Um, and yeah,
well,
I mean, I don't know
well,
how we got into this, but yeah,
I
yeah,
know. Yeah, we were talking about Crunchyroll launching a 24/7 anime channel. We got into this like really deep discussion about game design, but no, like one thing I want to point out, and I guess we can transition this into games we've been playing. Right, I've been playing Honkai
yeah,
Star Rail this week, and I've been trying to think about why I like this game so much and like why I like Genshin so much, and I just, it's like this. It's like this drip feed of rewards that I find very satisfying, and I have to reconcile the fact that I'm saying that because I'm thinking about like Diablo, right? Diablo 4. Why don't I like Diablo 4 or like Destiny, or like why am I not playing those games instead of, Genshin or Honkai? And I'm just like, dude, does it come around to the fact that the rewards I get in those games just aren't tangibly valuable in any way? In my head, like that's how I feel. And then when I get primo gems or stellar jade in Genshin or Honkai, they are valuable because they're literally like giving you money basically in those games. Like that shit has a real tangible value in the game economy, and it's like when they give it to you in large quantities for doing something like doing an event or something, it it it's satisfying to receive it. It's like, and I feel really fucked up thinking about it that way because I'm literally advocating, or maybe not advocating, but like making the case that a gotcha game with premium currency is like a more rewarding experience than a game like Diablo 4 that has no premium currency element to it. And I like, is that where I am? Like, I'm like, it's really fucking me up right now thinking about it like that because I'm like, I don't know, dude. I just like, maybe I just have a problem. I don't know. But it also speaks to the idea that like Diablo 4 was not a satisfying game. It wasn't a rewarding game. Neither of us felt that way, you know? And
well, yeah, I agree. It wasn't a satisfying game. It wasn't rewarding. It followed the same like Diablo 3. Diablo 3 was fun though. I don't know.
Diablo 3 was better. Like, it's not, I don't know. Like, yeah, I felt like Diablo 3 was more rewarding, which is
Yeah,
weird.
and even though I give it shit, at the time I was playing it, Destiny was kind of more rewarding. I just got tired of the formula. I just got tired of the way it was formulated at the time. So I don't like the way it fell into it, but like for some reason Diablo was like, I've already played this. And I played it in plenty of other games. If that makes any sense. You didn't reinvent the wheel. You adopted the wheel that was already set in stone by other companies. And I'll even say them as well. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They didn't try to go back. You know what, it would have been cool if Diablo 4 was a single player experience with a multiplayer component added onto it, if that makes any sense. I can play the whole game offline and it'll just be my experience. But then I can have other players join in, almost like a couch co-op situation where y'all can join my world and then we can do what we want to do or whatever the case may be. But then I can expel y'all and then the world is mine again, and I don't
Yeah, I
need
don't know
other
why
people
they
there.
didn't do that. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Because it feels like an MMO. It feels like a top-down MMO.
It's a shitty one. It's like a really shitty one. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not even remotely good. Like at that aspect of it, it's like one of the worst MMOs I've ever played. Like it's not. It has no idea how to reward you within that design space. To me.
Yeah.
And it's. I think that's why I find MMOs appealing as well, right? Because the games have an economy. And everything within the game has a value, and when you receive something in the game for doing an activity in some way that has value, like that's where the rewarding element comes from. And this is the thing. I think Diablo 4 loses the plot because it's trying to be an online game, but it's an online game that has no economy. So it's like nothing I receive, I don't really care about anything that I'm getting because the items in particular, like the equipment, is worthless. Like 99.9% of it is fucking trash,
Yeah.
And when I'm playing this game for hours for that 0.1% and I only get that every, hour or two, that sucks. Like that doesn't feel fun. That's not a good reward system,
Well,
And I think that's what they did with the game.
I think too, the game's just not challenging enough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Final Fantasy 14 for instance. Yes, that game is quote unquote easy, right? But you do the dungeon runs, and you need to know the boss mechanics, or your party will get wiped.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like for 99.9% of the dungeons. They even tell you, like, hey, they even have a section where they teach you how to do the dungeon mechanics or whatever, or certain things or whatever. But it's like, yeah, 99% of it, or not 99% of, yeah, 99% of it, the dungeons are somewhat, hard. They have mechanics that you probably need to either, you can go and research, or if you're going in fresh, your party might get wiped a couple of times to get the dungeon mechanics. And there are like multiple mechanics within those dungeons. So it's like, yeah, the world itself, like the world questing is easy. But then the dungeons kind of challenge you as a player to work with other players. You know what I'm saying? Which I like. Whereas with like Diablo, when I was playing that game, at no point did I feel challenged. I think I felt challenged by like one boss, and that was it. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be hard, and it just wasn't. And I didn't feel like, because we were playing on World Tier 1 or 2, whatever one was at launch, and I didn't feel like going to like, oh, I gotta play again to get the challenge. And it's like, I just don't fucking care anymore, bro. I don't care about the story. I don't care about. I did care about the story, but then I just stopped caring because, like, I don't know,
Like,
it
yeah,
just wasn't challenging.
it became it started off intriguing, and it's just bad at a certain point. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
good. So that kept me through the end, and then I just dropped it. I'm like, I'm done with this game, dude. I don't want to play this anymore. And I just went back to Honkai. It's like, and I don't know, like, Honkai drip feeds you like new story content every major patch, basically. You get maybe an hour or two of story content. I would say some patches are bigger too, where you'll get more substantial than that. But I feel like the story in the game is like, I mean, it's consistently good for the most part. There are some periods of it where it's not, and it's boring, and there's some bad plot threads that they go down. But generally speaking, like, I'm intrigued by the world, and they just do a good job of like continuing a live service game and keeping it consistently going. I don't feel like there are patches where things are total dog shit. That doesn't happen often with Hoyoverse games. I feel like I just feel like they know how to run these games, and they do it really well, and they're super consistent. There's not like, it's every 6 weeks you get a patch, dude. Like, and it's on the dot. They never miss those days. They don't miss that. Like, I can't remember since Genshin Impact came out. They may have delayed a patch once, as far as I know, for either game. And that's impressive for a company doing a live service game, multiple live service games at this point. And I don't know. I guess that quality, that consistent quality, is what keeps me playing the game so much. Ultimately, and I'll be honest, Honkai is better than Genshin in this regard, much better in this regard. My desire to spend money in the game is very low, generally speaking. Like,
Okay.
I pay basically I basically pay $15 a month, so I look at it like an MMO subscription fee, essentially, to enhance my experience a little with getting the battle pass, and then there's like this daily premium currency pass. And I buy those two things, and they cost about $15, and you do that once a month, pretty much on average. And that's pretty much all I've spent on the game. I did earlier on. I did spend some money on currency, like at the very beginning, within the first month or so, and I haven't really done it since. And I've been totally fine. I'm enjoying the game. I'm playing the game. I'm having no problems getting the characters I want. Like, they're very generous. They're a little bit. They're more generous than Genshin is with the premium currency, to the point that I don't feel like I have to spend money to get the things I want. Generally. And as long as you're not greedy and you don't want every single fucking character that comes out and every light cone for every one of those characters, like, you can make that work in this game. And it's like working for me. And I also, this game is a lot easier to do as like a consistent game that you play every day. I only have to play for 30 minutes a day probably, to do all the stuff I need to do for it. And then maybe once or twice a week I play a little bit more extended sessions to do some certain things. But it's like the game doesn't even request that much of your time either. It's a game that I have it on my phone, I have it on my computer. So sometimes when I'm on my break at work, I just do my dailies when I'm on my lunch, on my phone, and it's like I can just do that too. So it's like convenient too. The game is convenient too. It's just a really well run game. They every patch they usually have events that they run, like minor events, and then right now there's a major event going on. They introduce like basically like a Pokemon mini game into the game. And they basically what they did was they took all the enemies that you fight and they turned them into Pokemon, and you can level them and train them and like customize them, and you can make this party of 4, and there's like 3 different types, and it's like the holy trinity of one beats the other, and that one beats the third one, and the third one beats the first one, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They've added that into the game, and it's like actually kind of fun. Like they've added a whole new interface for it. There's new music for the battles and stuff. Like they actually put some effort into this. It's like not just thrown into the game. So that's been kind of fun to play around with, and I'm enjoying that right now in Honkai. So actually, I've been playing a lot of Honkai. Genshin kind of fallen off it a little bit the past week, not playing that as much. And then Star Ocean, I have been playing this a good amount. I haven't played it in a couple days, but I did make a significant amount of progress this past week on the game. According to the PlayStation trophy tracker thing, I'm about 65% of the way through the game at this point. And this game is not that long. From what I understand, it's about 30 hours, maybe 35 if you if you're doing some side stuff along with the main story. But full completing takes a lot longer, like 90 hours. But I'm just kind of mainlining this game at this point. And it's fun. I'm enjoying Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I don't think it's a great game. It is not up there with the best games in the industry, but it's a solid JRPG. It gets the job done. I will say the story was definitely losing me a little bit. It takes a little bit too long to get to its point ultimately, and it finally, like, a big event happened, and there were some reveals and some interesting plot threads now to for the game to pull at to kind of keep me engaged for the rest of it. So I do plan on beating this game. I mean, I got a week till Spider-Man, so I can probably beat it in the next week, I'm sure. And then I'm going to jump into Spider-Man after that. And then I will probably be playing the Star Ocean 2 remake, Second Story R, coming out at the beginning of November. I'm gonna grab that as well and probably jump into that too. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But for the Divine Force, I mean, it's not the best Star Ocean. It's probably the worst one I've played, actually, if I were to rank them all. But still, it's not like it's terrible. It's serviceable enough. The combat is decent. Character development is probably the most interesting part of the game, actually, is the character development and your party building. That's probably the most in-depth and intriguing part of the game, I'd say. But the one thing I will say I'm disappointed with is I forgot how crafting worked in this series. Is that it is actually totally random how it works. So you don't craft items with recipes in the series, generally speaking. You and in this game in particular, it is super random. So basically what it is for the most part, this is how it works. You can do recipe style crafting with basic item synthesis, where you can put 2 items into a pot together and they'll make something. So if you know what the components you need to make the item, like the final thing you need to make, you can do that in the game. But there's still an element of randomness to that. Even if you put the right components in with the right support item, you pick the right character to do the crafting, it might not come out with what you want still. So there's an element of randomness there. But the way the rest of the crafting works, like for equipment, accessories, weapons, armor, and all that, literally you just select a material, like one material. So like it'll be like iron, silver, gold, mithril. And you pick one of those, and then you just pick a character, and then you hit craft, and then it crafts something random out of that. Like literally, that's how it works. And it's this is not what I remember from Star Ocean 3. I remember it being a little bit more complex than this, and I find it super disappointing that this is how it works, because literally the way because I went online and started reading about this because I'm like, man, am I missing something? Because I sat down for like an hour and did some crafting last week or over the weekend, and I came out with literally nothing good. Everything I made was dog shit, and I'm like, am I missing something here? And I went online and read, and like you level your crafting skills with each character. Like you put SP that you get when you level up into them, which I did though. I did that with one of my characters. I like leveled their crafting skill to, I think it was 7 I got up to with him, and I tried to do the crafting with him, and it was still making me dog shit items. Like it was just garbage. So there's this whole like this is where the complexity lies, and the game just doesn't tell you anything, and it gives you no information whatsoever on why you're getting what you're getting. There's all these like spreadsheets and tables out on the internet on the crafting in this game, where basically people will tell you, you put this item in, like this raw material in, and you use this character, and these are the possible outputs you will get, basically. And each character has their own table for each type of crafting. And the game doesn't tell you any of that at all. And there is no way to know in the game. Like it doesn't even record it for you when you make something, like who made it, what material you use. There's no menu for any of that. So it's totally not explained in a way in any adequate way. And it just feels really bad. So to the point that like I don't even give a shit about the crafting now. I'm literally just trying to beat this game, and I'm gonna drop it. Like I don't care about the crafting. I don't want to learn about it. I don't want to figure it out. Like it's not rewarding at all. And apparently you really can't do it very well until you get to post game. And I'm like, what is even the point of this then? Like, why do they introduce this at all? Like in the middle of the campaign? Because so I'm like, so I basically am just dropping that whole element of the game at this point. And it sucks because I remember getting really deep into this into Star Ocean 3, and I made my party like super OP early in the game. And it's like not really doable here. It's like frustrating. It sucks. It's like the worst part of the game probably. But it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. You can still make your party pretty powerful in various ways. Like Star Ocean's always been a series where it's kind of, if you like learn the game's mechanics and the way the systems work and kind of how to manipulate those, like you can make your party really overpowered and strong at any point in the game. So it's kind of how it works here too, even without the crafting. Like I've still built my party in such a way where some of my characters are just like fucking monsters, and some of them are obviously weaker than others, but so the investment you put in will give you results still in this game. It's just like I don't want to put the effort in on the crafting. Like I really don't want to figure it out because it's just not a rewarding system. Like you're literally just sitting there hitting X for like hours, an hour or two at a time, and apparently that's how you get good at the crafting. You have to just literally grind the crafting, like craft over and over and over again with the same character, and that makes their skill better somehow in some hidden way. Like the game doesn't tell you, but they will learn skills by doing the crafting. Oh yeah, it will, like that happened to me. Like I was doing crafting, and that character that I had leveled his skill up to level 7, at one point he learned a skill out of nowhere, and I was like, it wasn't from leveling the skill up, it was literally from crafting. It just randomly happened. He just gained a skill, and I'm like, okay, so there's like no indicator why that even happened either. So everything about the crafting in this game is just like not done in a good way, in my opinion. I think it's the weakest aspect of the game, and that sucks because Star Ocean has had good crafting systems in the past, and I'm just disappointed with that fact. So it is what it is. But the rest of the game is decent enough overall, like solid. I would say it's solid. Like it's nothing great again, but yeah. So Star Ocean Divine Force, again, I mentioned this last week, but you can get this game super cheap. I think like $20 if you really want to. You might even be able to get it cheaper than that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing though. Montrell, what have you been up to?
So I played a little bit of Apex, but not too much to really say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Played a little bit with I could tell this game's kind of getting to us because actually me and Jet got into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nothing big. We just got into it like a little bit about placement and everything like that, or about you know where we were on the map and everything of that nature. So I don't know, I don't know what to do with this game, man. I
Mhm.
don't know. I really want a multiplayer game for us to play, but it seems like this game
I
really
mean,
isn't it.
there's tons of games we could play. Like, it's just like nobody wants to take the plunge. Like, we could play Gloomhaven, we could play Fall Guys, we could play there's fucking co-op games we could play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could all go play like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands or some shit. Like, there, I mean, there are games out there we could fucking play. It's just like we could play Grim Dawn together. Fuck, you know, like Diablo didn't work out, but you know, like there's other games. You know, it's just I don't know. It's just nobody suggests anything, and I feel like every time we should suggest something, like Brad poo poos it, and that's the end of that. You know, it's like so I've kind of given up personally. I'm just like whatever, dude. Like I don't
Yeah,
want to play Apex, and
I tried to throw free to play games, and they're like a couple of days ago. I was like, hey, we can play Apex, we can play Fortnite, we can play. I even go back to PUBG.
mm,
Uh, I'll play Valorant. Um, I'll play Counter Strike. Like all those games are free. So I'm like, and I know like you had some kind of interest in like Counter Strike or whatever, and I was like, I can
oh,
try it out. And I was like, if you don't want to play Counter Strike, we can play Valorant, which is kind of like a little hybrid between,
mhm.
got the hero shooter, but it's Counter Strike. But yeah, nobody bit on it, so I was just like, okay, I guess we're not playing none of those games, um, or whatever. So I don't know.
I mean, the only way we could do it is I feel like you or I need to play something together, and then that would get everyone else into it. Like
Probably, yeah.
that's the only way it's gonna happen. Like I think they're gonna be like, oh shit, Justin and Montrell are playing something together. Oh well, I got FOMO now. You know, it's like that's how our friend group operates. Is they don't want to be left out when something fun is happening. So like we need to just do something together, and then people will probably join us. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I mean, fuck, like Baldur's Gate. You can co-op Baldur's Gate. That'd be interesting. Like, fuck, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's
Yeah, I mean, we
games out
can
there
do
we can
that.
play. It's just
I think
everybody's so stuck on Apex. It's like I don't.
I thought maybe we wanted a competitive game to play, so I was like, okay, well, like I said, that's why I named those games because it's kind of competitive. They are competitive, um, especially like CS:GO and CS:GO 2 and Valorant. Like those are competitive games, and the skill ceiling is high, but it's like it's so many players to where we won't be running into the same issues like Apex. So it will still be a little bit of a fair fight for us to, start low and then get to the higher skill ceilings till we plateau or whatever. So that's why I picked those games. Or we can play co-op games. And I was like, I was going to suggest Ready or Not. It's like a SWAT game, but we have to communicate. We always on comms anyway. So I thought it'd been
Mhm.
cool to do Ready or Not because each house you clear, it's random, where the enemies are
Yeah.
going to be at and where the hostages are going to be at and everything like that. Or like you said, we could have played Baldur's Gate or we could have played Gloomhaven or anything like that. But I think the problem with like our friend group is, yeah, like you said, like I don't think Brad really wants to spend any money, which is understandable. He doesn't want to spend any money right now. So like when we do suggest like Baldur's
Okay,
Gate and
but Montreal. To be fair about that, we have literally bought games for Brad before, and
that's
like
true.
and he has said, "Oh, I will play them with you," and then we all start playing it, and he's like, "No, never mind. I don't want to play this. I don't like this game." You know, it's like, okay. I mean, like, I don't know. So it's just, I
Yeah.
I I've kind of been on hiatus a little bit with the Discord, you know, and it's been good for me. I think it's been good for me. So
All right. Well, it was good for you, then it's good for me. I just wanted us to play
I mean,
something with
look,
each other.
if we want to do something though, like let's like I don't know. This weekend is actually relatively clear for me. I don't have any work things lined up, so I should.
Unfortunately,
Oh,
I will be
you're
in.
fucking out of town. That's right. Fuck. God damn it, man. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I
See,
will
this is the
be.
problem. Like, this is the issue. This is happening too. Is like real life's getting in the way sometimes too for us.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have not been available a lot the last few weeks. Like, dude, I played Magic like once in the last month and a half or something like that, you know? So I'm like, I'm not even doing that right now, you know? So it's like life's been in the way for me anyways. So that's been the other reason I haven't been on a lot. But I mean, like, fuck, dude, like Final Fantasy, I'm down to go back to that. I fucking love that shit, or even the World of Warcraft hardcore we were talking about, like people actually seemed into that idea. I'm down to fucking try that.
Yeah, just see how far we go without dying.
As horrible as it sounds,
It
like
sounds really terrible.
I think it will be hilarious. I actually think it will be fucking hilarious. Because every moment we think we're gonna die, crazy shit's gonna happen. Like it's just shenanigans are gonna ensue. And we know how our friend group is too. It's just people are gonna start screaming and like be like, don't fucking heal me, like shit like that. So I don't know. I'm down for it, but it takes a group. I'm not gonna do it by myself. Probably that's not really worth it. I don't think, but so
yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I really like Apex, but I think I'm just not going to take it seriously. And every time I look up news, it's like, oh, season 19 is going to be better. And it's like, is it really going to be better?
You've been saying that for 10 seasons now. Like
yeah, exactly.
It's like the boy who cried wolf, like.
Yeah, they always claim they're going to fix it. And, we're getting everything we want in this season. It's like, yeah, you said that last season. So, and then like I haven't even played League. I haven't played League since May 24th. That's when I uninstalled. I installed 11:40 at May 24th because I tweeted at the same time I uninstalled it. Excuse me.
You actually haven't gone back at all?
No, I haven't gone back at all. No.
Okay, I thought you did for like a brief moment, and then you were like, "Nope, why did I do this?" Nope.
No, I haven't went back. I haven't touched it. Only thing I've been checking is like streams and stuff like
patch
that.
Notes and
and patch notes and every patch.
That'll be the game, though. That'll be the game when you're willing to come back. That'll probably be the game that gets us all back on for sure.
I just don't know, man. Every time I check that game, it's
worse. It's getting worse.
I felt validated when a lot of people were saying this is the worst season they've ever encountered. And I'm like, okay, so it's not just me because the player count has to be dropping. Like I left this game and I just never turned back. And it apparently is so bad where they're reworking a lot of shit. Like they're getting rid of mythics, like I said, and everything like that.
Well, this is the problem with a game like that, like a competitive game that you're continuously balancing, is when you hit a good point of balance, inevitably you're going to shake that balance up because that's what you do, That's how you keep the game fresh for people. So, and the people making the game have to understand the way the game works, like to a very strong degree. Otherwise, the changes they make are going to be bad. And I kind of feel like right now the people making League don't understand how League works.
Which is funny because a lot of the lead people who are like in the top, they were like at the 5 or 10 years ago, they were kind of like at the bottom, or they were like the players themselves, and now they either the game designers or they started playing League while they were in school, and now they're designing for League and stuff like that. I think this goes to show you, like, maybe sometime what you think is the best for the game while you're playing it is not the best when you're implementing it. And I feel like this team is learning that the hard way. Because like a lot of the developers were players themselves. Like I said, either they're growing up with League or they've been on the development team for a while. And then like the older development teams either went on to new adventures or they retired. But yeah, like I just, like it seems like the quality of the game has just gotten worse. Like I put in the chat, like all the bugs and stuff, like there are holes in the map and stuff like that, and blast cones in the spawn point, and like that was a thing. Yeah, and that was a thing for like 2 days. Trendemir's E doesn't fucking work. Jax has like if he casts something at the wrong time, he could do like 500 damage to the other player and shit. Or
what do you mean? That's normal. That's just how Jax works.
And then like Alawi's like tentacle, it would go through. It would not work on characters that were resourceless, like so Riven that didn't have like a resource or anything like that. Like they use mana, it wouldn't work on the Riven players. Like so, she was just getting fucked.
Hey, man, Huawei players deserve that. All right,
I
let's
mean,
be
yeah,
honest. Let's be real.
yeah, but it was just a clusterfuck of shit, and it's like they have the nerve
I
to
mean,
release
wasn't it
two
funny
kits.
though that Brad was like the apologist in the chat for Riot, like in League? I'm like, what is happening here? Like, what
Yeah,
happened? You
that's
know?
why I kind of didn't respond to it. I was like, I don't feel like arguing today. And I
Yeah, I
just,
don't understand. Like, he was the one, dude. You remember when like we were all kind of getting fatigued. He was the first one who was like, I fucking hate this. Why am I playing this fucking game? You know, you fucking hated League for a minute there, and now he's like sucking his dick again. I don't
yeah,
know.
he's trying to get me to come back, and I'm just like, I was like, every time I check on the game, man, like I put in stone. I will probably come back, and I'll put this on. I'll say this on record. I'll probably come back in January. That's when the new fucking stuff is supposed to take place. They even
Yeah.
admitted that in this patch they had a big patch this patch that actually broke the game, but they fixed a lot of they hot fixed a lot of that stuff that I put in the chat. But that was like over 2 days ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they admitted that they put more durability in the game and they want the games to go longer and they're taking a lot of power out of the game. And it's like, yeah, because no one wants to play a
God.
30-minute league game, bro. Like, no one wants to do that. I'm sorry. That's what we thought we wanted. But actually, when we play the game, we see how super fucking unhealthy it is to have a 30-minute league game because you power spike rush people all the fucking time. Like, it's crazy.
Well, you don't give an it creates. I don't know why they didn't get this. When you make the game as short as it was, you know, where games are ending as fast as they are, where like 30 minutes is a long game. That was a long game.
That was a long game.
When we were playing, 30 minutes was a long game. Yeah. When you're making the game that short, like it creates this situation where, yeah, power spikes mean more for any character, but the ones who were really good at certain points, especially early in the game, they were more powerful within that patch, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Aurelias of the world, the fucking Viegos of the world. Like those characters were fucking just stupid, you know? And it's because when you play a character that's like a late game character, like a fucking Varus or something like that, like you can't get to that point in the game, you know? So you have to play the game so fucking well to even survive that long to be able to power spike where you're dominating the game. It just didn't happen. So you take a humongous swath of characters, and I just fucking smacked my mic arm. You take a humongous swath of characters, and you just basically delete them out of viability because of the way you're making the game so fast. It's like, why did they think that was a good idea? The game needs to have a healthy balance where it's both things are viable. You know, like
I really
doing the
think
short term rush thing is a viable strategy, but if you lose in that situation, you should lose the game. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And that was the trade-off between champions that were really like Olaf is a really good example. Like old Olaf before he got reworked, like stat rise reworked. He was a really good example of that. He would dominate like the first 10 minutes in laning phase. And then after that, he was fucking useless. But those first 10 minutes, he was like the shit. You couldn't fuck with him. Now, like they shifted his fucking power and everything like that, and items and everything. It was League of Items, not League of Legends.
And he scales like endlessly, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and he just becomes this like early game, you know. He's actually worse early game now, and he became kind of more of a mid late game character, but still it's like I don't understand, because the other thing with having short games, right, is that you do not give the team that is losing the opportunity to react and make a play to turn the game around, you know? And that's the reality we were running into. And you talked about this before, snowballing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is very unhealthy for something competitive. You know, if there is not a realistic way to come back, then you create a meta where everybody wants to surrender if you're losing at 10 minutes, you know, or 15 minutes. And that's what the game was.
Yeah, we were getting in situations to where, like, when I was playing ranked, if I lost the first dragon or if we gave up the first dragon, we were like, oh, surrender at 15, bro. Like, the first dragon's already gone. And it's like, that shouldn't be... That shouldn't be a thing. Like, first tower is down. People are already like, oh, we're surrendering, man. Main lane already lost his first tower. And it's like, bro, like, we can still come back. Like, and even I was like that with y'all. Like, y'all were like, oh, we can still come back. And I'm like, bro, we already lost like Lane is already lost. Laning phase is done. We're done. Like this is it. And that's why I realized I'm like I had to stop being toxic. I had to take a step back from this game because it was just super unhealthy. And my mental for the game was just like really bad.
Yeah.
And the game, in my opinion, kind of harbored that. It kind of harbored
exactly. That's what I was getting at. Which
yeah,
and think about this, Montrell. How many games did we play? Just us, like in the games you played with us, or the games you played solo. How many of those games ended in one team or the other surrendering?
A lot of them. But there's rarely any times we got to Fountain all the way to Fountain.
50% more than that.
Because when it
would
was
it be
all
safe to say more than 50%?
Yeah, more than 50%. When we were losing, we let
absurdly
the team go to
unhealthy. That is an absurdly unhealthy community of game. Dota does not allow you to surrender. You cannot surrender in Dota. It's not an option. League players moving to Dota would not be able to handle that shit because that's the mentality, dude, is if you're losing, you fucking surrender. How many fucking randos did we have? Or it was like 3 of us were playing together and the other 2 randos, like they just want to surrender the whole game. And then they just start throwing because we aren't surrendering. And they just ruin the whole game for everybody. But if they had just fucking played normally, we might have won, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that's what League's entire community has turned into. And it's like, dude, if Riot looks at that data and somehow thinks it's healthy, I would love to know the full percentage for the whole community, like how many games end in a surrender, because that is a bad metric to have at a high percentage. That means something is wrong. People are giving up, you know?
Yeah, and you get LP from it. I feel like you shouldn't get LP from a surrender after 15. Like you don't get LP if you surrender before 15, like whether somebody disconnected or something like that, right? Understandable. Yeah. But like after 15 minutes, the other team still gets ladder points for that. If you surrender or whatever, or if they surrender, you get ladder points. I think it should be half off. Like I think even if I was winning so hard that I caused the enemy team to like lose, right, or to surrender, I still should get half LP. Like that's what I feel like. Yeah. And I feel like the surrendering team should lose double LP because y'all surrender instead of just letting the game play through. Like,
yeah, I agree. Something like that.
Yeah, there needs to be some kind of consequence to it because then both parties will love to just play to the end. Like, okay, no, we're just going to play to the fucking end now. And I don't know. And then another thing too, speaking of Lee's toxic community, like we're talking about, they implemented some type of thing. If you're being really toxic in ranked, which is good, you can't play ranked for a couple games. Like you're maybe on like a 2-day or 3-day ban until your reputation gets better. That's what they call it, right? Your reputation or whatever, like your teammate reputation gets better. So they'll force you to play norms and they force you to play ARAM. And it got so bad in ARAM because people who play ARAM don't play League seriously at all. They don't even touch Summoner's Rift. I know people who are completely dedicated to ARAM. That's all they play. And they're like, my ARAM games are getting so toxic, bro, because these ranked people will come into my ARAM game and just run it down. Like they're not even trying. They're just trying to run it down, get the games over as quickly as possible so they can get back in rank. So yeah, they change it. They're like,
but how does that work though? Aren't they getting reported for doing that, which would then keep them out of ranked even longer, or was it not doing that?
It wasn't doing that. People were running it down, and then they were getting back into rank. Man. So I think they kind of implemented that a little bit early with us when we were playing as well. Like because in our normals games, bro. It was something,
City, bro. It was Sweat City. Oh my god, it was sweatier than ranked was. It was crazy. Like, oh my god, we play these games where these people would like start emoting after their first kill or whatever, dude. And it's just
I don't mind people playing their mains on norms. I don't mind that at all because sometimes I do it just to practice and warm up, and that's okay. But it was to the point where it was like I feel like we were going against 5v5. LCS teams who were like scrimmaging against us, and we're like, bro, what is going on, bro? And I'm not trash at the game, so it's just, I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now. Like every time it was like a 5v5, every time we had a full party of people, it was like really bad for us. And I was just like, and I know we're not bad at the game, so it's just, they just need to fix the community. They need to fix a lot of things with the game. But first they need to like slow down the game, and I don't think they need to harbor the whole. I think they thought oh, maybe the Gen Zers, the TikTok generation want to be like, and I don't think even Gen Zers wanted that. They're like, bro, I just want to play League like I used to play it. Like, I don't know. I think everybody agreed that I like that they tried something different. I respect that they tried something different. And I also respect that they saw that it wasn't working and they're running it back.
They held the game hostage for an entire year.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it took too long for them to come to this conclusion, in my opinion. It's like, but one more analogy I want to make about why longer games are better is you guys need to think about, there's a reason that most sports do series in the playoffs, is that you want you kind of like in a league, right? You want to reward the teams or the players that are better, the ones that are higher skill. Like, obviously that's where some of the excitement comes from, is when those situations where the better team loses or something like that. But it's not. I think in a competitive setting, you want the longer period of time so that there is a chance for whoever is losing to flip things and make that comeback. If you make it so short that you can't even react, then whoever wins at the first blush is just going to win the game most of the time. And that just doesn't feel appropriate. If a team comes out flat in the playoffs, in most cases, like, they shouldn't just lose just because of that one bad game they had, and I think that's why baseball and basketball do things the way they do it, because it's pretty common in sports where teams will come out flat, even in a playoff scenario. Like, they'll come out and they're not ready to play, or they, for whatever reason, they're just not energized to play, and they'll get their asses fucking kicked. And that's not a satisfying experience to watch, and it's probably not a satisfying experience to play in either, even if you're winning, and I feel like in any competitive environment, you want to give the competition enough time for both sides to display their skill, and I just don't feel like League was doing that, with the way the game has been, when we were playing it, at least. It didn't feel that way. Whoever won the first 5 or 10 minutes was generally going to win the game.
And I just don't feel like that. I just don't feel like if you invade at level 1, that should decide the entire game.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like if you lose in lane.
Well, then why are you even playing it if that's the case too, right? Like, what's even the purpose? Like it exacerbates the exact problem we're talking about the surrender. It's just like, if you lose that invade, or you get invaded and die, then okay, game's over, guys. Let's just quit.
Well, what League used to be about was good fundamentals, right? And I used to see this in a lot of training videos back in the day, especially when I first started like learning how to play League in like season 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And one thing they used to always harp on was farm in lane. You get your good fundamentals of farming in lane. If you know how to hit a minion, and you get out farm your opponent, more than likely you're going to win that game, right? And I feel like I think Jet was a good example of this, because Jet used to know how to farm. Like, Jet knows how to fucking farm. We all saw it.
I'm similar. I'm similar. Yeah.
And you're similar. Like, you guys knew how to farm, and your fundamentals were really sound and good, but we were still losing to players who were in silver and in bronze. And that's because the way the game was designed, it didn't, in my opinion, it did not satiate that feeling of farming. It fed to the notion of, if you get more kills, then, and you get towers, then yeah. But like, if we control the minion wave and stuff like that, and you push the wave up and everything like that, like, there was hardly no. Because you remember that one meta, like that one patch where it was literally useless for me to jungle. I just had to gank bot.
Oh yeah,
and that was the game.
Oh my god.
Yes, I tried it.
I definitely remember that patch. Yes, I do. It was the worst thing imaginable, dude. Like, that's what I'm talking about, though. It feels like getting a minion advantage, like a CS advantage, just never mattered in any of our games.
Yeah,
even if I would have it, because I consistently would be at the top of our games in terms of farm. And it just, most of the time it didn't matter. If we lost one team fight, like, or if I got caught in the wrong position in a team fight, I would die so fast that I could not react, and it would be over. I would be dead and we'd have no damage and the fight's over. Like, we lose. We just literally lose. Like, and it's not it, like, I'm sorry, but it is not fun to just die in a split second for like little mistakes like that in low level league, you know? Like, we're not talking about a pro match where people are so fucking good they can blow you up in a half a second. It's literally everybody can do that. That's just the way the game is now, you know? And it's like, that is not fun. Like, that's not a fun situation, because that's to my point, right? If you're in the middle of a fucking like fight, right? I feel like the fight should be long enough, because this extends to the way the fights were designed too. Fights were very bursty and quick in League when we were playing it. I feel like fights should be elongated enough that there are kind of an ebb and flow within a fight where, like, you can go in and you do a ton of damage to somebody, but they get out, you know, and then they come back in afterwards and they contribute later in the fight at lower health or something like that. And that's possible. And League, the way League was, it's just not like, it just wasn't possible to do that. If you tried to come back and you were like 20% HP, dude, one ability is going to kill you. You know, it's like,
yeah, it was super bursty. I don't know. Even like the jungling, when I tried to counter jungle, the spawn camps spawned so fast that it was literally wasting my time. It was not worth my time, rather, to go to the enemy's camps and like and fuck with his jungle. Like, it wasn't worth my time. And like, remember I told y'all, I was like, I watched a couple of videos and they were literally saying, don't even bother counter jungling, just jungle and then camp lanes. And I'm like, that's not fun. Like, jungling used to be this. It was a chess game inside of a chess game. It was so hard to jungle in like season 6 and 7 and 8.
Yeah. And
then they just reduced it down to, I can camp in the bottom lane bush and get kills, and I win the game. And I did that consistently for a couple of games where we won. And I was just like, this is boring. I reverted back to my old style, and then we started losing again. And it's like, because the enemy was camping your bot lane.
Yeah.
And they're just like, and then don't even get me started on top lane. Top lane is just a fucking island. I feel bad for whoever plays top lane. Like, it is the worst position in the game. Like, bar none. It's such a terrible position. If you lose one fucking wave in top lane, you're done. And don't get killed in top lane. It's over.
Well, dude, isn't it fucked up, right? This is where League makes me laugh, right? Like, isn't it kind of an indictment that in Dota, like, there is a off lane position where you solo, and that's possible, where you go 2v1 and you can do that, you know? Like, that's a thing that's possible to do. In League, the idea of that, like, top lane is a 1v1 and you lose one fight and it's fucking over, dude. You know, you're done. I don't know.
It's such a bad lane, bro. That lane needs to be either gutted or reworked. I don't know what they need to do with that lane, but that lane is not fun. Like, if you play top lane, I thought jungle was bad. Like, I feel bad for every top laner. If you play top lane, you're a masochist, because there's no fun in that lane at all. Yeah. Like, you're going into that game knowing I'm not going to get help. I have to be the best every time. It's just not fun. But
right. We've been on a fucking diatribe. We digress.
I've also been playing Cyberpunk, but I haven't played it too much. I'm enjoying the story, but I'm actually going to try to finish the game. I'm not going to do all the side missions like DJ said. The game's just, I'm ready to move on now. Like, I love the game. Don't get me wrong, but I am just ready to move on now.
It's too big.
Yeah, it's too big. It's not super big, but it's like Witcher 3 big. So it's big. It's a big game.
Holy shit, that's fucking huge, dude.
Yeah,
that's 150 hours, man.
It's not quite 150 hours. It can get up to, like, I can say 80 hours.
Oh, yeah, okay. Then it's not Witcher 3 big, because Witcher 3 big is 150 hours without the DLC. You had the
DLC. That's insane. Yeah. Are you serious?
No, that was how long it took me to platinum that game. Was about 150 hours. And yeah, the DLC adds 20 hours, I think, and 60. So we're talking like 200 plus for all the DLC in The Witcher. So yeah no, okay. It's not that big.
Yeah, Dogtown. I think base game is like 50 to 60 hours. And Dogtown adds another 30 hours to it. From what I hear, another
Oh,
25 to
wow.
30 hours to it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'm just going to finish the main Dogtown campaign, and then I'm going to finish the main campaign because the way the game works, Dogtown DLC takes place in the middle of the game, like story wise. So it's not like an added on. It's like you can do it. You're supposed to do it while you're playing the game or whatever.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was a very interesting choice they did with that. Um, so it was recommended that I play it right before the last mission, and it gave me the name of the last mission. I didn't even know I was on that last mission on the main game, and I am on the last I'm on the story mission starting the last act of the game. So yeah, I'm going to finish Dogtown. It's supposed to change some of the endings as well. Finishing Dogtown, and you get a lot more lore with Dogtown and stuff like that, and more on like the existential threat of the net, which I think is a very interesting concept that they have. It's not like oh, if you don't do this, the world is in danger or anything like that. It's just like
Mhm.
this could potentially fuck up the world. But like if you, the player, never existed, this probably wouldn't happen, if that makes any sense. So like there never was a super threat going on, but since you exist and since the character Johnny Silverhand existed within you, your actions can impact the world, if that makes any sense. But it's not like a Mass Effect thing where like, only you can do it, Shepard. Like, what I'm saying? It's
You
not like that
pick
or anything like
green,
that.
red, or blue, and
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
it's not a like a world ending event. It is a world ending event in my opinion, but it's not like if V never existed or Johnny Silverhand never came back, um, then it would never happen and the world would take place business as usual, if that makes any sense. So your actions in Night City are actually impacting the net and how things work, if that makes any sense. So I actually like the way they've written the story. But you don't really find that out until like 45 hours into the game. So it's not like you're getting beat over the head with like, oh, this is going to happen. It's like that doesn't get revealed until like literally like 2/3 of the way through the game
Mhm.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to reveal what it is, but if you just because I know you plan on playing it in the future. But yeah, so besides that, I do like the game. I do plan on revisiting it probably next year when I have some free time. We're going to do another build because I mean we got too many other games coming out right after this game.
I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I want to play it, and I think at this point, based on the way you've talked about it and like the changes and everything, I have a feeling I'm gonna fucking love this game. But I'm saving it for a rainy day. We are eating good right now, and I like because dude, I still gotta play. I gotta play Baldur's Gate 3. I've got to play
Yep.
Pikmin. I didn't even touch Starfield. We got Spider-Man 2 next week. I have Star Ocean coming out at the beginning of November. We've got a Mario, Super Mario RPG remake coming in November. Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 just came out also in September, and I haven't played those in like
Oh, fuck, I didn't even buy those.
14,
God damn it.
14 years. I think I haven't played those. I still want to play Front Mission 1 remake. Front Mission 2 remake I think is just came out or is about to come out. Also, I want to play through those. And then there's some games earlier in the year like Jedi Survivor I didn't even play. I'm forgetting some other ones from early in the year too. So, dude, like, there's tons of games to play. I need to catch up on some of this shit right now, and I've gotten myself in the right headspace where I'm like, I want a game right now. I want to play games, I want to get through games. So I'm in the right place to play some of these games and get through them. But I need to do that. So Cyberpunk, unfortunately, is just gonna have to wait. I think for now, it'll probably be next year for me too. With that one, and when there's more of a down period, because it's just not stopping until, dude, it's like it legitimately. I don't think that we're gonna have a break until mid-December, where there's like a break between major releases, but even that is only going to be about a month long because, or a month and a half long, I think, because I want to play that Avatar game too. It's coming out in early December, so you've got that early December. I want to say like December 9th or something like that, and then a month and a half after that, we have that Prince of Persia 2D platformer game
Yep.
coming. That looks fucking incredible, and I'm definitely playing that. And then a week after that, there's Persona 3 Reload and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. coming the same fucking day in the beginning of February. And then I've got Unicorn Overlord coming in fucking March, that I'm fucking super hyped for. So I'm like, oh my God, bro. It just doesn't stop. It's just not going to stop. So like, I got to start getting through games like in a real way. Like I got to stop fucking around and yeah, I'm still playing Honkai. I'm still playing Genshin, but I'm like, I'm still, I've been like Star Ocean up until the last couple days where I had some other shit to do, I had been playing Star Ocean every night since last week's recording, which is why I made so much progress. So I am playing. I'm not doing that thing where I like don't play anything for days at a time. Like I'm not doing that right now. So cool. All right, Montrell, let's move on to the news because we actually have a lot of news to get through.
All right.
And I do want to get you out of here so you can go pack. All right, let's start. I ordered these in terms of importance, I feel like, but there's a lot of interesting news this week. First one is Activision Blizzard. The acquisition is set for, by the time you hear this, the day you will hear this, which is tomorrow, 10/13, Friday the 13th, interestingly. And it's looking like I didn't find anything to the contrary out there, that it's looking like this is still on track for tomorrow. So we'll see if this goes through. We'll follow up on this next week for sure. But Montreal, I mean, even if it doesn't happen next week, it's probably going to happen within the next week, even if it gets delayed a little bit. So I mean, Montreal is finally happening. Microsoft is closing the deal with buying Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, I think at this point, I don't think this is good for gaming.
Well, dude, and to that point, Activision is already coming out. Like Bobby Kotick has been has been giving interviews this week about talking about putting their games on Game Pass as early as next year, like Diablo and Call of Duty. So,
yeah, I just don't. Sorry about that. I just don't think this is a good. First of all, fire him. I hope they fire him. Bobby Kotick.
They said they were going to. Back when they first announced the deal, you remember that? But I don't know. It's been so long at this point. I don't know if they even need to anymore.
Like, doesn't he have like allegations, like sexual allegations against him?
No, not him specifically. I don't believe there's anything directly. I don't think there's anything directly linked to him. The people wanted him ousted though because so many things were happening under his umbrella, sexual harassment stuff.
He knew about it and didn't really take
correct.
Okay,
didn't really do any corrective action. So yeah.
But yeah, even I don't know, man. This is gonna be a really weird time. But also I think like this is also like from what I'm seeing, I know we every year we say Call of Duty is like probably not going to sell that much or whatever. But I mean, it's going to sell like hotcakes. But I feel like a lot of people are starting to know what the jig is now with Call of Duty, even though it took like 15, 20 fucking years. But I feel like they're really starting to wake up to it, and they're just like, I don't know if I'm going to be playing this like that. Like, I may buy it, but I mean, people are definitely going to get Modern Warfare 3, but I don't think people like the direction is heading in. I don't think people like the gameplay is heading in and everything like that nature. The super sweatiness is going into Call of Duty. So it's going to be interesting to see the next couple of days, next couple months rather, to years, what happens with Activision Blizzard. I mean, because even we saw that Diablo didn't push any boundaries or anything like that. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't even know what Blizzard's future is at this point. I know I did see an article saying that they're going to be doing layoffs pretty soon or something like that. But yeah, I just don't know
what Diablo sold fucking like 10 million copies. Like what the fuck? I don't know. Okay,
bro. We remember we talked about like the budgets for these games are so inflated that they can hardly break even at this point. I think they really expected Diablo to be like $1 billion game. Like,
I mean, like, okay, this. I just don't understand. Like, how did they make that game and play it internally, and then maybe had people play test it for them like externally?
I don't think they had people play test it.
They probably did.
They played it.
Like how did you make that game and not fucking realize that it's just not that great? Like, how did you do that? I don't understand, dude. Like,
I
I
don't
don't, I
know.
don't fucking know, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, this goes to our point about earlier, like where I think these are one of the reasons this acquisition is one of the reasons I feel like gaming is going to have like a slight crash, because these budgets are getting too inflated now. They're not able
Yeah.
to sustain, and we'll talk about another game that's coming up as well. But they're not able to make the money back or even break even at this point because they're just too big. Where you have it should only in retrospect take $50 million to make a game, and then you should be able to make that money back really fast.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I think that's the only good thing coming from these acquisitions. I mean, not good, but the only thing is we need a reset, and I hate resets because it's like a recession, and people lose jobs and everything of that nature. And it's a really terrible time for not only for the consumer but the developers as well because they have to
Hmm.
look for work and everything like that. Um, but a lot of these companies are going to lose money because these acquisitions are going to start shutting people down. Xbox is going to start shutting people down. We already seen it with not Deep Silver but
Embracer.
Embracer. Um, so I think another exodus is coming like that. It was a weird time in gaming from like 2008 to 2009, I think, where that happened a little bit. And I think
Yeah, but
it's
you remember that time though? I was thinking about that timing. We were talking about bloated games, right? Like, don't you think about like AAA games at that point in time were so much shorter than they are now? You know, like think about the Uncharted trilogy, right? Like those games are
yeah.
like 10 hours or less to beat, and everybody loves them. You know, and what happened to that? This is the part
Well,
of this is
because
the part of the
because
bloat that I don't understand. Go ahead. Sorry.
because it was an extreme, right? I don't know if you remember, but then we started getting games that were like $60 or $50 at the time, and some were 60. Um, where the campaign was like 5 hours, and we're like, that's it.
Yeah.
It is it is like that was the whole game. That was it. And then they tacked on multiplayer and that was it, you know? So it
Yeah.
was like that's where we started getting these like super long games after that because we complained about that. Players complain like I want the games to be bigger, better. I want more from these games, which I think was warranted at the time. But it's also like, be careful what you ask for because now we get these, like you said, these super bloated games that are like 150 hours long and stuff like that, and we're like,
Mm.
all right, I have to go to work tomorrow. Yeah.
Or
Well,
I want to play a different game, God
yeah,
forbid.
I want to
Jesus
play a different
Christ.
game. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's like, okay, I see what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying in principle, right? Because I think about the Order 1886, right? That's like literally a 3-hour video game, if you rush through it. And
yeah,
that's not acceptable. Like there is a minimum amount of time that a AAA game its campaign should probably take. And that minimum to me is probably around the 10-hour mark. Like anything less than that, and you're getting into questionable territory to me. I think if
yeah,
you're going to charge $70 for the game, right? But I'm not saying that with the idea that we're equating that 10 hours with the value of $70. Like I'm not. That's
no,
not a
I
hundred
get what
percent.
you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not 100% true. However, when you're talking about a AAA game, right? Like we're talking like Starfield or fucking Uncharted or Last of Us or whatever the fuck, a game of that caliber, like in that sphere, you better be bringing like there needs to be a minimum amount of content. I do feel like to justify the price tag. And I feel like Uncharted is that minimum. Like that's kind of the baseline, but as long as that minimum is like really high quality, the way those games are, it's acceptable to me, and I'm okay with that. The idea of beating a game in a weekend is something that is so far gone to me in video games right now. Like I can't even imagine, dude. I can't imagine getting through 10% of a game in a weekend. Forget about beating a game in a fucking weekend. It's just like that's like a fucking foreign concept, man. And that used to be a thing. I used to do that all the time. I remember beating fucking Arkham Knight in a weekend, when it came out in 2015. I fucking destroyed that game, and it's like I just don't feel like that's possible at all anymore. Like games are just too big, they're just like, dude, I love The Witcher 3, right? But 150 hours of content, like what the fuck? Does the game really need that much? Did it really need that much? Probably not. Like, there is a point of diminishing returns with how much content these companies are putting in these games. It would make it weirds me out that it's gone. The pendulum has swung this far in the other direction, that we're talking about games being too big, because you would think companies would want to make small games and sell them for $70, like, it would be cheaper to do and you'd be able to do it faster, but so I'm not saying swing the pendulum back all the way the other direction, but god damn, we got to find a middle ground here, man. It's like
I think
Final Fantasy VII Remake was the perfect size for what that game was. It was the perfect size.
Yeah, I agree. I think the issue is, I don't know if it's developers or players. I think it's a combination of both. There's a big miscommunication on what the other wants and what the other expects from the other. I think developers, when they design these games, they think they need to blow. I had a tweet on Twitter where I said, and this was just in relation to character action games, like your Metal Gear Revengeance and everything like that. And we were talking about like action RPGs though, and like Kingdom Hearts, for instance, or maybe Nier Automata, or
Sure.
I even say to a certain extent like God of War Ragnarok, right? That added those unnecessary RPG mechanics to the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can't just get an action game because the developers feel like the players need more. Not only the story can't carry the player, but the player needs more. So they have to tack on these RPG elements, see damage numbers go higher and higher. So therefore the player has they have a goal within the goal. Whereas the goal should be to get better movesets, unlock better stuff, and then like better combos and stuff like that, right? Because and then finish the game out. I feel like Devil May Cry, it knows its lane, right? It's like an 8 to 10 hour game, but it's super replayable, and they know that players want to unlock more moves, and that's what we do. We unlock more moves, we get rewarded for doing skill expression with the ranking system, and then we get more points, and then we get those points to buy more move sets and blah 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 blah. And like the story is not an afterthought, but it is there. Whereas like you got God of War Ragnarok, where the combat, I think the combat is really good in the God of War Ragnarok, but it's not the main focal point of it, because they think we need everything else. They think we need all these RPG mechanics. Okay, you got this armor, and this armor has a passive that gives you 2% health, and it gives you a cooldown. Like, to me, the cooldown mechanic in God of War is so fucking stupid. Like, just let me do what the fuck I want to do in the game. I don't like it. I don't like there's cooldowns on my powers. I fucking hate it. And I feel like I hate that I have to build armor around it or tack on extra items to lower the cooldown so I can't do some of these cool combos in God of War Ragnarok. And it's like,
I mean, Final Fantasy does that too, though. Final Fantasy 16 did that too.
Yeah, and if you're going to be an action game, just be a fucking action game. So I say that to say those are two really good examples. Like, God of War stat pads the game, but its length is decent. But it's like, even both of us said was like, all right, bro, can we just end the game? Can I just do Ragnarok?
It's like you're like 45 hours in, and you're still running around doing fucking random bullshit in that game, and it's just
and then like Final Fantasy 16 is a perfect example.
Oh, it's even worse.
Its highs were high, and then its lows were absolute fucking garbage lows, and you're like, bro, can I what was the whole point of me buying a weapon, bro? The next weapon is just going to be more powerful than the last. What was the whole point of me having stats? Just turn it into an action game.
Why am I crafting a +1 sword when I'm going to get the next sword in 15 minutes that's better?
Exactly.
Like, what is the point in that? There's no purpose to the system. Like, why is it even there?
Exactly.
The crafting in Final Fantasy 16 is one of the most hilarious things. I don't understand the point of it at all.
But because they felt like they had to add those things to stat pad the game instead of just making the game a fucking action game at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean that's the point we're at, though. That a character action game, which I know it's Final Fantasy, so this is clouding the point a little bit, but like the idea that a character action game is bloated is like a 50, 60-hour game. What? Like, huh?
And I
Like
love
what?
character action games, and I'm like, bro, this is a little bit too much for me.
They're like
This is
10-hour
way too
games,
long.
bro. Like they're supposed to be 10 to 15-hour games, and like amazing 10 to 15-hour games that are highly replayable. That is what I want to see more of. Is if you want to give your players more content, do New Game Plus and do it right. You know, where it's actually worth going back and playing the game again. You know, like do that kind of shit. I don't need the main game to be 100 hours. I don't need that. I don't.
Yeah, and then God of War Ragnarok had the nerve to not. First of all, I'm kind of glad they didn't do New Game Plus on launch, but then it came out 6 months after I think it was like 3 or 4 months after the game came out.
No, it was 6 months. It was like April, I think.
Yeah, and it's like, bro, I'm done with your game. I don't want to fucking touch God of War Ragnarok anymore. Like I'm completely done with that game. It was a good game, don't get me wrong, but it's like I don't want to touch that game anymore. So even with like fucking even though it came out on launch, but Final Fantasy 16, bro, I'm not touching that game again. I can skip all the cutscenes in the world. I still have 30 to 40 hours left in that game of pure gameplay that's just useless. I can't skip. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's just really weird.
Yeah, and I think about God of War Ragnarok because it's a good example of like game bloat, right? Like in the New Game Plus literally did come out April 5th this year, so I was right on with that. But I'm like looking at the screenshots though, and they show one of the other weapons that you get in the game, and I remember, dude, this whole quest chain of like it's like a 3-hour quest chain to go get like the second weapon. You know, you have to go up into this village and into a fucking mountain, and then you go into this area and you go into this like fucking elevator thing or whatever the fuck and go underwater, and there's this weird creature that crafts the new weapon for you, and then you get it and you have to, you know, you get your nice little fight where you get to show it off, and then you have to go all the way back down the mountain, and it's like 3 hours to craft a weapon. It's like, what the fuck? What? Why? What am I doing here? Like, why is this here? Why do you feel the need to do this shit? You know? It's
you
like,
know what? I didn't feel that way with the original God of War, like the God of War
me either.
2018.
I didn't either. I did not either. I don't feel like there's moments I don't think there's a lot of moments in that game that you could have taken out. But I haven't played it since 2018 though, so maybe I'd feel differently now.
Yeah, maybe we feel differently. I mean, I know there was like the little open linear sections of the game, but like I don't know if
you don't have to do them though. They're not necessary.
You don't have to do them. And then obviously with the old God of War games, right? That was an action game, and you got to the point. Each level just you just got to the point. That was it. You know. So, they went for the cinematic storytelling, which I do like, but yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how the fuck we got on this subject. To be honest with you,
I know we're talking about we are in hyper digression mode this week. What do we do? This was about the Microsoft Activision acquisition. Like what? Okay, all right, guys, we have digressed very hard again. Yes, Microsoft. The deal should be is likely closing. Probably by the time you hear this, it may be closed already. So, yes, games from Activision may be coming to Game Pass as soon as next year. Big games like Call of Duty, Diablo 4. That is kind of the thought right now. Bobby has been suggesting that, so we'll see what comes of it. That would be a big deal for Game Pass, but I don't know with the way things are going with subscription services right now. I'm starting to wonder if Microsoft has hedged their bet in the wrong place. You know, they may be positioning themselves in such a way that they're going to kill their Xbox business long term. So
totally agree.
Okay, all right, let's move on. Montrell, next thing. Sony announced this week that the PlayStation 5 Slim Edition is coming this holiday. This just came out of nowhere. It just got pooped into the fucking PlayStation blog. But they announced the PlayStation PS5 Slim, and it will be coming on November this November, and it will be in the US $499.99 for the PS5 model with the disc drive, and then the digital edition will be for $49.99, which is interesting because that's I believe a $50 increase over the normal digital edition, isn't it?
Yeah, wait, say that again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The digital edition is going to be $450 basically, and it's $400 right now, isn't it? So
Yeah.
they're upcharging that, but not the disc model. Interesting stuff.
You know what I said? I said it a couple months ago, but I saw somebody else tweet it, so they might get credit for this. But remember, I said PlayStation's trying to become the Apple of gaming.
Yeah,
this is some Apple shit. This is some definitely like Apple shit.
I haven't seen anybody talk about that specific part of it. It's like they just snuck that in there, you know. It's but some other things about it. So it's going to have a 1 terabyte SSD instead of the 825 gigabyte, which is nice-ish. I would have loved to see that higher. I don't really see why it couldn't be, but you know, we'll take what we can get, I guess. It is going to be reduced in volume by more than 30%, weight by 18%, and they said 18% and 24%. So they're talking about, I think, the digital and then the disc version there, with those two different percentages, which is pretty significant. And it will also be coming with a detachable disc drive. So they are releasing a separate disc drive modular piece that you can buy and attach to your PlayStation 5. So if you buy the digital version and you want this, you can buy it and put it on there, and it's going to be sold for $80 as its base price. So this was rumored for a while, and this has obviously been proven to be true. But this is just another sign of things to come, I think, and we're going to get into this with another story in a few minutes, but you know, this rise of digital is real. The idea that the disc drive is now a modular piece of the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I actually like that. I like that a lot, actually.
I mean, I like it too. It's just another sign, though, that we're heading towards digital, man. Like they're inching their way over that way, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a really good. I think this should be the standard, especially for games like, say, like they had the PlayStation 6 or whatever, and it's all digital. There should be an option to have a disc drive just in case I want to play my PlayStation 5 games that are on disc. I don't have on digital.
I think that's the realistic future, because I've made the prediction before, and I still believe this, that the PlayStation 6 will be an all digital console. Yeah, and maybe it won't be PS6. It might be the next one, right? It could be PS7 more realistically, maybe. But I think we're heading there, and eventually that's what's going to happen. I think is exactly what you just said. It's going to be all digital with the new console going forward, but going backwards, they need to give people something. And I think a modular disc drive would be just that. So
yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I mean,
yeah,
that's okay for me at least. I know a lot of people will be against that, but yeah, I think the digital thing is just gone. I do think it's kind of early. Well, when the PlayStation, it's 3 years into the generation, came out in 2020, right, or 2019? If you want to count that,
2020.
2020.
3 years.
It's 3 years. I don't know. It's kind of early. Well, when did the PlayStation?
What, the Slim?
Yeah, the Slim.
No, it's not.
It's not? Okay.
PS4 Slim was 3 years, I think.
Okay.
Same with the PS3 Slim. The PS3 Slim was 2009. That's when I bought my PS3. So,
but wasn't it cheaper?
Yes, they were significantly cheaper. Actually, the PS3 in particular was. I think the PS4 Slim was also cheaper than the base model price. So. This is they're definitely trying to hold the console's value as long as they can, for sure, before they start reducing the price. But I mean, other rumors are we're going to be getting a pro console from PlayStation next year, probably.
Oh my god, are you serious?
So, yeah, which I'm okay with it personally. I'll probably buy it, but it's yeah, so they're pushing their hardware for sure. But the other thing is they said that this model, once it enters circulation, will become the PS5 model, the only one. They will not be continuing to manufacture the original consoles. So, once that stock runs out, it's gone.
Yeah, so even if I do get a PS5 Pro, I might want to keep my PS5 original because it might be worth a lot of money. Like the like the original PS3.
Yeah. Probably not, unless they take back compat out, which they're not going to do that this time. I
Yeah.
wouldn't think so. But it's just something to note for sure. So, but you guys will start seeing this out there in November. And yeah, modular PS5 Slim console. It's definitely looks slimmer. I mean, the PS5 it's fucking huge. Actually, I'm looking at mine right now. It's pretty fucking huge. So, it is needed at this point, I guess, if for new adopters of it. But I would not recommend buying one if you already have a PS5. So
Yeah, especially since there's rumor for the PS5 Pro. If
yeah,
anything,
right.
I'll probably sell my old PS5 and then just put it towards the PS5 Pro. So.
Yep, exactly. That is exactly what I will do, probably. So, all right. Well, that is coming later in the later this fall. So, all right, moving on. We have a report from Bloomberg that, and this was part of a report about Disney specifically, but it was mentioned in the report that they are thinking about acquiring Electronic Arts as a way to get themselves back into video game publishing. What I want to say about this is this was widely reported after this article came out. I will say, if you go read the Bloomberg article specifically, it is not about gaming. It is about Disney specifically and Bob Iger coming back as CEO and how that hasn't worked out for Disney super well.
Really?
Yeah. But they did throw this nugget in there. So I'd almost say take it with the grain of salt. I mean, we have heard a lot of rumors about EA being acquired over the last couple of years. With like Amazon, Apple, and Google and others like thinking about it with them. So I do think EA is going to get acquired by somebody, but right now the hot name is Disney. And Montrell, how would you feel about this Disney getting back into video games publishing?
That's a good question. I mean, they really didn't.
I would hate it personally. They have no place
Yeah,
in video
I would
games.
say they really didn't move mountains when they were publishers.
No, they were a terrible publisher. Like the only thing they made of note was Disney Infinity, and even that they failed at. So
I like the Epic Mickey Mouse Adventures, or whatever it was called. Oh, that was pretty cool.
Epic Mickey.
The first one
That was a
yeah,
long
Epic
time
Mickey's,
ago, though, dude.
Yeah, yeah, they haven't really made any good games per se. So
yeah, so what faith do I have that they would be able to buy EA and do anything with them? It's like not really.
Yeah, they can't do anything.
Yeah, and the interesting thing that I did see too was that EA's market cap is apparently 35 billion or so, and Disney's is like 150 billion, which I thought is a lot lower than I would have expected for Disney. But they're just not like they're a corporate company now. They're not a creative company, and I just don't want companies like this owning video game publishers,
Yeah, they really lost their roots. I would say, ever since the whole superhero acquisition stuff, like they really became like a manufacturing corporate. Like we know how they get max amount of dollars out of said franchise, or really when it started like Star Wars. You want to be honest, like I don't know, it's just they're just really weird how they do everything. You can tell they don't really care like they used to care about.
They just run everything they own into the ground, dude.
Yeah, like they used you can go back and watch older movies and older cartoon movies, and even some of the live action movies, and just tell that they really cared about what they were doing. But now I would say ever since like middle of the Marvel stuff, they just really stopped caring, and it became like business as usual. And it was super apparent with Star Wars. I think that was one of the biggest colossal failures. The sequel trilogy of our generation, like of our time, because like me and your generation, because the news that came out of that, how they just was like, okay, we don't even care what you guys do, just do it. It did, it did it, and then they were surprised that it didn't do so well. So I don't know, man. If that's how they run the business, then they're just going to run games to the ground. Like,
the
one company I wish I wish LucasArts would become a publisher again. That's who I wish would become a publisher. I want them to take the Star Wars franchise back
Yeah,
from
but
EA.
they're just part of Disney now. They don't they're not
Yeah,
they're not special at all anymore either. They got fucking ran over and fucking Disney's just ruined Star Wars. Like Star Wars sucks now. Like I don't. I know everybody's like super excited about all these Disney Plus shows, and I've not watched any of them, so I don't fucking know. But I also don't care. There's too much Star Wars. I don't need all this in my life.
yeah.
It's just not that interesting of a fucking franchise to justify all this shit. You know.
That is my biggest gripe with all the Star Wars shows. From I don't know about Andor. I don't know if that takes place in the same time period, but from like Mando to fucking Ahsoka to fucking Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan's,
Kenobi,
yeah.
Obi-Wan show, and it all takes place in the same era, and we all know how that era ends. It
And
really,
fucking Rebels and like
there's literally nothing you're not telling me that's new. Like even the games, Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, I just don't fucking care.
I mean,
Because
we're getting to the you're getting to the point with it where like we're gonna start showing like Darth Vader taking a shit. You know, that's how granular we need to get interesting events happening. You know, it's like
yeah, it's just I don't care about that saga anymore. I don't. I would even take games as terrible as the sequel trilogy is. I will take games in that era. Like, give me something in that era, bro, or just
that's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Just give me something, bro, because I am so, and you know what it is, and it's our fault. This is the fans' fault. This is one part I will wholeheartedly agree with DJ on, because we were so up the trilogy's the original trilogy's ass that we just can't let go of everything else. Like, just let it go. Like, it's over, y'all. We how many times have we told the Clone Wars saga story? 20 billion times. We don't need more of it. Now they're thinking about redoing or doing a live action version of Clone Wars, like the cartoon. It's like, bro, why? Why do we need this? Why do we need this? We don't need this, because Ahsoka did so good. It's like, we don't need this. Like, just write something different. Just do it.
Well, like, dude, it's like, you know, my argument when they were making the new trilogy, right, for the 7, 8, 9, is when that was first announced, I was praying to God that they would go like 500 years into the future.
I was right there with you. I was hoping they did that.
I was just praying for it, because I fucking knew that if we stuck in this Skywalker bullshit or around the original trilogy, it was going to be terrible. And that's exactly what happened. And it's like everything they make is centered around these three movies. And it's to your point, like, nothing is this good, man. Like, I'm sorry, nothing is this good that it justifies this much content. This is the same point about the Marvel stuff with the movies, the cinematic universe. Is like, they have run it into the ground and nobody cares anymore, because nothing is that good. Endgame was it. That was the perfect moment to stop and just give it a fucking rest, you know? I didn't need another movie after that. That was the perfect end point, you know?
Yeah, like, could you imagine Harry Potter? And then we got books between, we got video games between the Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets.
Oh yeah, television shows, you know, with the Ministry of Magic, and
they kind of like weaved it into where, like, you see Harry Potter 1 here, like for a scene here,
or we're gonna tell the story from Luna Lovegood's perspective, you know, or whatever. And it's like, oh my god, dude, no, please stop. You know? I mean, it's not for lack of trying though, Montrell. Like J.K. Rowling has tried. It's just that it's been so bad that nobody wants it, you know. So anything that isn't the original 7 books has been horrific when it comes to Harry Potter. So,
you know what? But I will give her respect, right? Because like the the magical beast stories, right? Those are the prequels to Harry Potter, right?
Well, they take place before. Yes, many decades before Harry Potter takes place. They take place in like the 20s, I think, or 30s.
Yeah, and you know what? I give her props for at least trying. Like I consider that a different era, so I give them props for doing that. And then I even give props to
Yeah, but okay,
Hogwarts,
okay,
the
okay,
game,
okay, okay.
right? Hogwarts Legacy, the props for making their own, even though it was like not the best story. I
Yeah,
give them props from doing it in a different era, right? Like this
I
is
agree
like
with you with Hogwarts Legacy. The Fantastic Beasts movies, no, I cannot give her that credit because those movies center around characters that are in the 7 book
okay,
series, like
that's true.
Dumbledore and fucking
Yeah,
Grindelwald. So
that's true.
no,
Yeah,
like she
okay,
couldn't get away from those, in that.
that's
And
true.
it's like, come on, like it's small universe syndrome. It's fucking bullshit. And Star Wars has that shit to a stupid, ridiculous degree. Darth Vader is in every random fucking thing that happens. He was somewhere. Oh, Darth Vader was flying by on this ship while this thing was happening over here. It's like, oh, are you guys excited? And it's like, no, fuck off. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't stop inserting him into everything. It's like,
Yeah,
God.
it's like, bro, it's so funny because when you really think about it, right? He's supposed to be like the Emperor's right hand man, and it's
Yes.
like, how is he his right hand man? He was doing all this extra shit. It was just like, it's like
Yeah.
the books, the comics, all that shit's canon. The newer books and comics and stuff like that, all that shit's canon. It's
Games,
like,
dude, you remember the end of Fallen Order? Like how mad I was about the end of that game? Like, bro, I'm sorry. I still contend that the end of that game is stupid. Like, the idea that Cal comes face to face with this fucking dude and survives is a joke. Like, at the power level he was at that point in time, it's just, there's no way. There is no way. It's just like, I don't know. Like,
it
no,
was
dude.
definitely main characters, plot
Yes,
armor.
absolutely.
And then Trilla died. Like I think that was one of their best characters. And then she died.
Mm-hmm.
Well, spoiler alert for people who play fucking
It's,
Fallen Order.
I mean, the second game is out. Like,
Yeah, but
it's okay.
but yeah, like I don't know, but that's why I love Couture so much. Like people ask me, like, why do you have this, nostalgia for Couture? The gameplay fucking sucks, and it's like, nah, it sucks or whatever. It's like, bro, you don't understand that elevated Star Wars to like a different plateau. Like we were just
Yeah.
like, this is 3,000 years back.
Well, it's original story, original lore, original characters. Yeah.
It was just so good. Like all that. We didn't get no Luke Skywalker or none of that shit. It was just
nobody
like,
with those names. Even imagine. That's what would happen now if they make a Knights of the Old Republic show. There will be a character with the name Skywalker in it, and it will be 3,000 years in the past. And I'm like, you're going to tell me that the family tree of Skywalker survived 3,000 years? No. Fuck off. Like, no. Like,
they're going to change it, bro. They're going to change it from, instead of 3,000 years, it's going to be 300 years. That way the Skywalker brand can still live on.
Fucking God, dude. No. Oh. No, I can't, man. I can't. It's just, it's too much at a certain point. This is the same problem we had with like fucking Kingdom Hearts, and it's just, like Horizon is gonna start doing this now too, where they're gonna make like
because they're trying to make a whole fucking cinematic universe out of that shit. Yeah, that's another thing. Can we stop the cinematic universe shit? Like, I understand.
It's not cool anymore. It's not cool anymore. It was cool at first because we never had anything like that,
Exactly.
It's now no longer cool. Stop doing it, okay? I don't need everything to be connected to everything else, okay? It's just not. No, stop it. Make your own shit, make it good, and that's the end of that. Like, leave it. This is why I don't need Disney to acquire EA. Leave them alone. Leave the video games alone.
100%.
Every studio is going to be making a Star Wars game if they fucking acquire EA. Dude, can you explain this to me? Why would Disney want to acquire the company that they gave exclusive game development rights to make like Star Wars games, and they fucked it up so bad that they went to other publishers, and Disney's like, oh well, let's acquire EA. It's like, no, they weren't good when you were partners with them. Like, from a licensing standpoint,
the only game that saved them, right? That saved EA, in my opinion, was Fallen Order. Like,
Yeah,
that's the only game, and that game still sold really well, and the sequel
it still
sold really
sells.
well,
It's still selling really well.
and it's still
The game
selling really well.
is an absurd tale. It's
And
kind of crazy.
so, like, yeah, you have Battlefront and everything like that, but at this point, that was like 8 years ago. That was 6 to 8 years ago
But
for Battlefront.
has EA materially changed that much in that period of time?
To me, no. To me, no.
I guess to Disney though, they're like, well, recently you guys have been doing a really good job. You know,
yeah.
no,
And
Respawn has been doing a really good job. Let's get that.
Yeah, I was about to say
right.
that. So, and then they'll do some crazy shit like they'll acquire EA and then fire everybody in Respawn. Like, they'll do some crazy shit like that. Like, well,
dude,
give us Fallen Order 3, give us Jedi, Outcast 3 or whatever the fuck. Like, and you're like, you fired the staff that did that game, so it's not going to be the same game.
Yeah. No, you can see it now. Like Vince Zampella, they get acquired, and Vince Zampella just quits. He just leaves EA. We just say that story, bro. He just does it again. He goes and starts another new studio independently, and he's just like, "Fuck this shit. I'm out. I'm gonna start over." Like,
and then they make DICE they make a Battlefield movie, like a Battlefield cinematic universe movie or some shit like that.
God, dude, no, dude. All right, no, we're done. I'm not talking about this. I can't do this. Let's go talk about. Well, this is EA adjacent. We have a follow up.
Gosling and Matt and what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal.
Fuck you, man.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
All right. EA adjacent. Let's talk about another asshole former EA CEO. The Unity situation we talked about a few weeks ago. We have an update. John Riccitiello has resigned as CEO of Unity effective immediately. This happened this week, and it's so funny. It's just like the biggest blunder imaginable. This dude literally ended his fucking career with this bullshit with the Unity engine stuff. And they're looking for a new CEO. We didn't update on this, but they did amend their policy. They are going to allow developers to pay a 2.5% flat fee, I think, on revenue, if they don't want to pay the bullshit download installs garbage. But yeah, John Riccitiello, he's gone. He's out as Unity CEO, and which is interesting because he's been their CEO for 9 years, actually. So
I'm gonna throw him some shit. I'm not some shade, not shade, but some slack, because he was the CEO for 9 years. The board signed off on this. He didn't make this decision himself.
Yeah,
he had to run this by the board. Yeah, he's definitely the scapegoat. He had to run this by the board, or somebody to the board came to him with this idea, and he was like, "All right, let's do it." And now he's getting the slack for it. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's made some bad decisions, right? And this was a bad decision. But like, I'm gonna let you finish. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Oh no, you're good. I wasn't saying anything. Nope,
okay. In my opinion, though, I still wouldn't trust Unity. I would if I was a developer, I would develop my last game, finish the project out, and I'm going over to like Unreal or Godot or something like that. I'm not touching Unity anymore because they can try this again. Like, I
would have the same approach. I totally agree with you. Unity, I would not be making my game on Unity if I was a dev.
Because it doesn't make any sense. Like, this was a joint effort by not just him, but like upper management. Everybody agreed upon this. And no one, you're telling me no one up there was like, hey, is this a good idea? Like, somebody that it's if it was up to me, if I was like a major shareholder, I would ask, like, if I own 50% of the stocks or something like that. I don't know how that works, but like if I own like 40% of the stocks, I'm like the major shareholder. I would ask for more seats to be taken off. Like, we need to fire more people because somebody else made these decisions, not just him. Like, a lot of people needs to go.
Well, I agree with you, and it's kind of goes to show you like corporate culture, right? Like decision making at high level leadership positions and the board and all that shit. You know, I mean, I work for a fairly large company, and I see this shit all the time, right? Where leadership makes decisions in the complete absence of any reality that's happening below their position. And that's what this feels like, is a bunch of people sat in a room not understanding the landscape at all, and they made a decision without full context of what that decision was going to mean. And they just stepped in it, dude. They just stepped in it and didn't realize it. And that's how bad this was. This was so bad that they had to make Riccatello resign. Like that's the only way they're going to save their image, literally, is by blaming this guy and throwing him under the bus and getting rid of him and getting somebody else and changing course. Like that's how bad of a decision this was. And the fact that it happened a month after the original announcement is fucking hilarious. You know, like it's so transparent. It's so obvious, you know? So yeah, I like, if I were a developer, I'm out on Unity, bro. I would never touch this engine ever again.
I mean, I agree. I would never touch this engine never again either. The only hope they have is for, like I said, the newer generation of developers who are still young and not really following this type of trend right now. They're still in like high school or something like that. And they may jump on Unreal. So that's like their only hope at this point. But to me, if you're in college and you're working on Unity or anything like that, I wouldn't even work on this. I would train on it and then instantly move to a different engine, because Riccatello was a really good scapegoat, right? Because he has a footprint. He has a huge digital footprint.
Yeah, he has a reputation, right?
Yeah. So it's easy for us to be like, let's just use him as a scapegoat. And I'm pretty sure that's, like you said, that's what they did. But when I read this article, I was like, I was happy, and then I instantly got mad. I'm like, man, no, this is way, because I like you, I understand how decisions work in companies.
Yeah,
a lot of people think it's just the CEO who's making all those decisions, and it's like, he does have a final word, yes, but it's definitely like a board of directors who are making these decisions, and then they come to him as like the representative of the board of directors. That's pretty much we can see it as the CEO. You're like the representative of the board of directors, and then you come to the company and you're like, hey, this is what we're doing as a company, and this is what we decided to do. And yeah, I don't see how this is a really good step for them. I think a lot of people will come back because they don't know any better, and I can't really blame them. But for people who are deeply ingrained in like CEO, or not CEO culture, but corporate culture, like you said, and for developers who understand corporate culture, I would not develop for these people anymore. This is very underhanded. It's very sleazy. It's super sleazy. It's the corporate.
They're saving their own asses shit. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, like, CEOs generally, like, they don't make decisions in a vacuum, but they are the ones who I think generally determine the path of a company, and they get that path approved by the board. So
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like he definitely had a hand in this decision 100%. However, the board knew about it and approved it, you know?
Exactly.
So
that's where I'm going with it. Yeah.
It's not like he sat in a room and did this all on his own. You know, that's exactly what Montrell is saying. And it's like, so it is underhanded, but it also, again, it just shows the level of incompetence at Unity, though. That's the reason. I don't care that they're making this decision now, or that they did this, or that John decided to do this. I don't give a shit. If I'm a developer, I want nothing to do with this company. This company has no idea what the fuck they're doing. The fact that they tried to do this at all shows that their board has no goddamn idea what to do, you know? And that's just a level of incompetence I wouldn't want anything to do with if I'm going to put my livelihood into making games on this company's fucking platform. Fuck that. Get the fuck out of here, dude. No way. I'm going to Epic. Like, sorry. You know, it's like, so yeah, no, it's
charging per download is insane.
Like, you per install. No, not even per download. Per install.
Yeah, per install.
It's
and
even worse.
you can bankrupt somebody if your game was like an online, like a web browser game.
Oh my
You can
god!
bankrupt somebody just
How
by
did this get by the
refreshing the
goal?
fucking
Dude,
refreshing the page.
any person with any technology background would have been able to poke holes in this plan. Like, that's my point about them making this decision in a vacuum with no idea what happens to the lower levels below them, you know? Like, anybody with any semblance of an idea of how technology works and the way this shit operates, like, would have been able to poke holes in this. Remember when we talked about this the first time? Me and you both were just like, literally like, bro, you could bankrupt a company with the way they're doing this, you know? Like, you can maliciously cost a company money by continuously installing fucking games that are made on Unity. Like, that was the first thing we thought of. And the idea, and we're just amateur fucking podcasters, bro. Like, how did you not think of this? So, you know what, man? As much as I agree with you, at the same, as much as like it is fucked
No,
up for the board to use him as a
I'm not
scapegoat, like,
excusing his actions at all. Like I'm
yeah.
not, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I'm not saying
I know what
I'm
you're getting at, though. Fire
I'm
the whole board. Like, get them
yeah,
out.
I'm saying
All
that
of them.
this needs to be like a reshift in the company
Yeah.
because like
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe upper management, like people like your level, right, of management, and
Mhm.
maybe a little bit
Yeah.
a director or something like that. Maybe
Yeah.
they did try to speak out, but it's like a lot of shit has to change. If I was like doing an audit of the company or something like that, I would say, how did this idea come out? Like,
If
yes,
I,
if I know
yeah.
Riccatello probably pitched it to y'all, and y'all said yes to it. So okay, however many seats of boards there is, I'm just to say 12 or whatever. There's 12 seats, and then him. Okay, so you 12 guys said this is okay. But did you guys go to the lower levels and say, "Hey, this is the idea that we're pitching and thinking about pitching"? And did those directors, did they say yes to it? Who said yes to it? We need to know. Like, did
Dude,
we do any kind of any research and development on this, R&D on this at all
before announcing it? Right. No, because dude, if I worked at Unity and this had happened, right, and I had no knowledge of it before the announcement, I would be ripping my management a new asshole. You know? I would have gone to my boss and I would have been like, dude, are you kidding me right now? Like, did they not talk to anyone below like a fucking VP? Like, what the fuck? Like, this is so obviously stupid. This makes no sense. I would tell them that. I'm not the kind of person who holds this shit back, you know?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit, you know? If something is stupid, it should be called out, you know?
Well,
and
majority
this
of
is
people
exactly why, because it leads to this situation, you know? It's like,
exactly. And majority of people who are, I'll say at least 50% of employees who work in a publicly traded company, they own stock in the company as well. So it's like, not only are you hurting my pockets, or you hurting the company, but you're hurting my pockets because my stock is falling because I probably invested in the company I work for. So, I mean, obviously they couldn't tell us because of insider trading, I believe, or whatever the fuck. But it's like, bro, if they were to have like, I don't want to say the company name, but if they were to have a company town hall meeting, there you go. If they were to have a company town hall, I would be like you. Yeah, I'd be like, that would be the first question they open up the floor. Hey, how did this get? I'm a low level worker. I'm a contractor, or I'm you know, whatever. I'm IT. I knew how to sabotage this plan from the get go. How did you guys who make, you know, six figures not figure this out? And I would say that to them live on the mic. Like, you guys make six figures. How did you not know that this will?
How did you not talk to anyone who poked this hole in it? You know?
Yeah.
Like, how did you? I don't even necessarily need them to know. They just need to have talked to people who would know to be able to like stop it from going out. This is literally company ending blunder, you know, type stuff we're talking about here. And like, so I mean, this would be like an emergency situation where, I would not be holding back, bro. I would be like, look, dude, especially if I worked in this position I do now in Unity, like I did technology support, I'd be like, dude, guys, like you guys, how like anybody in my position at any other company around the entire world could poke this same hole that I'm going to poke into this right now about the fucking endlessly installing this on VMs and creating a script and like maliciously installing a game to cost somebody money. Like, how did you not talk to anyone who had that idea? Like the decision making process is broken. Something's got to give here, guys. Like that is wild to me.
They failed the company, in my opinion. That's why I was telling you
Absolutely.
failed us as a leaders. Like this was really bad. This was leading us off a cliff, and
Yeah.
you know,
Blindly. Yeah, it's like
blindly,
you're driving a
yeah.
car blind. Yeah, like I don't. Yeah, it's. I don't know. I mean, hopefully people inside Unity, like the workers, are speaking up because
I mean, I obviously they did. I mean, to me, they did because they were leaking a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Like they were leaking internal like letters and everything to Reddit. I
yeah.
think a lot of people were blindsided, like we said, and they just didn't see this coming. They're like, "What the fuck is this?" Like,
Yeah, right. What are we doing? Oh my god.
could you imagine if your company did something like this? Like every time a customer enters the store, we're gonna charge them 5% on their credit card or something
I mean,
like that.
like, dude, you were talking about owning stock though, right? Like, I don't own stock in my company for very good reason. Like I like I'm not saying shit, but like I would not invest in my company if as me, I'm saying that as me, so it's like, so yeah, it's, I think that's the thing. Like if you're in the company, like, man, really evaluate who you're working for, dude, before you invest in your own company. Like it might not be worth it. It's like, do you really trust your decision makers? Like, do you really trust the infrastructure or the way your product works? It's like, I don't know. You just have to evaluate those things in order to make a good decision like that. So yeah, I mean, this makes sense. I was not surprised when I saw the headline. I mean,
I wasn't either.
I don't think anybody really is. It's kind of what Unity does from here. That will be interesting, I guess. But ultimately, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think
I'm
they're going to
actually
die.
surprised
But
they did it because a lot of
yeah,
companies have been like sticking with their guns and just going and power through
yeah,
with it. So this is
yeah,
like the first time I've seen a company, because we've seen companies make really bad decisions, but I mean the CEO is still there at the end of the day. This is
yeah,
the first time in a while I've seen like a CEO just step the fuck down, like, all right, you guys won,
yeah, yeah. Well, he was probably urged by the board to do it. So
Yeah.
all right, Montrell, let's move on to our next story. This one is not also, I'd say, gaming adjacent. It's not 100%. I'm not sure this is a gaming story right now, but this was broken today by a website called The Digital Bits, and they are reporting that Best Buy is going to be exiting the physical media business in 2024 forever. They will not be selling physical media in store or online, which is actually pretty surprising. That is the reporting, and the idea is it might happen in as early as Q1 of 2024. Now, I will say the reason I want to put a caveat on this, that this report did not mention video games once, so I'm not sure right now if this is going to affect games, but physical media, games would fall under that umbrella, in my
Games would
opinion.
fall under that
So,
umbrella.
if this is true, this is a big, huge deal. Best Buy is a major media retailer in the U.S.
Yeah. I know they still sell movies and some CDs.
Yes.
So I go into a Best Buy, they still have huge like lanes or like
Yes.
rows of movies and CDs. So I mean that could be one thing they're talking about. The video games thing, I don't think that's a huge risk. Huge.
Well, I mean,
risk.
that's the question. Do you believe this includes video games?
No, not right now. I think in 2025, yes. If they said 2025 or 2026, I can see it, but like not now. No.
Okay, but let me argue something. Right, we saw that grocery chain in Europe do this as well a couple months ago, right? And that's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. Best Buy doing this would be big, right, in the US, but maybe they have information that we're not privy to. They might know something about Sony's plans in some way, or Microsoft's plans with future consoles, or ideas that are being bandied about. I know we're in 2023 and we're only 3 years into the PS5 generation, but Sony is definitely already R&Ding the next console, and so is Microsoft.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did get that report where they said what 70% or 80% of their downloads are digital.
They're downloadable, yes, digital. Like I think it's 80. I think it was 80% of game sales for them are digital, right? And that's current right now. So forget about it in the next 3 years. And I mean, Best Buy might just be reading those trends and making a call here potentially, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know, because when you go into there to buy a game, a console, I mean, are they going to stop selling consoles?
That's a good question. That would be an interesting point. Would they continue to sell consoles if they stop selling games?
You remember we did read that report where it seems like Sony was slowly trying to take everything out of the retailers and just have them as a sole retailer. Like that's from what Apple analogy came from, where you can only buy Apple products from Apple. I mean, you can buy the iPhone still from Best Buy and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't go to Best Buy for Apple products. They go to the Apple store.
Right.
And do you think PlayStation is trying to make it to where they have the PlayStation store, to where they may have one brick and mortar store somewhere where people can go to just buy all PlayStation products?
I don't know about that, but I mean, we have talked about PlayStation Direct being Sony's logistics arm, and they have been building it now for a few years. I mean, guys, you like, if you haven't been following games for that long, like, Sony did not sell consoles directly to people when the PS4 came out. That was not a thing. This is a very recent addition to their fleet of offerings. And so that to me indicates that they foresee, obviously, a future where they will need to sell their consoles to people directly, because retailers aren't going to want to do it, because there will be no games to sell in that eventual future. Why would Best Buy sell PlayStation 5 when there are no games to sell with it? And that's the interesting thought here. If they aren't going to sell games anymore, then why would they sell the consoles? What purpose does that serve? I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess you could make the same argument for the iPhone and the iPad if you're going to get rid of all the DVDs and movies and shit. I mean, I guess, sorry, that's a bad example. Like Blu-ray players, would they keep selling those if they're going to get rid of Blu-ray movies and DVDs and stuff? Like, I mean, I guess they would. It's kind of an appliance, right? In some way. And I guess you could consider the PS5 and Xbox Series X in a similar space.
They're going to have to redesign their whole store. I mean, if that's their plan.
Yeah, right. All of them. Right.
Yeah. I feel
that's why I'm not sure this is going to affect games, because when you really think about it deeply, like, what do you do with the Switch? You just get rid of the Switch too?
That's actually a really good example.
Because the Switch is not a digital console, not that deep. It's not anywhere near as deep.
I don't think the next one is going to be a digital console as well. I can't see that happening.
Right.
I don't know. What I think what Best Buy should do is, like, if you're going to do that to make up the difference, I think they should pivot to be where Fry's was at, as far as, like, let Best Buy be the one-stop shop for PC stuff, because PC is still popular. Or have, like, industrialized PC stuff to where, like, people like us who work IT can go to Best Buy when we need something. We don't have to order it from Amazon or order it from, like, the manufacturer. We can go straight to Best Buy and get it. I think that's what they should pivot towards. But I'm not sure if they're even going to do that. I mean, because there is a huge open market for that. Because the only two stores that really do it is this one little company, this one little store in Texas it's called Alltech, I believe it's called, and then Micro Center.
Which Micro Center's not big either. They only have, like,
2 or 3 stores, right?
20 stores.
20 stores, yeah. So it's like that's a huge market for me, in my opinion. Like, we can take over that market because Fry's is not around anymore. So Circuit City's gone.
Oh, they've been gone.
Yeah, they're big on
But
it. Radio
it would
Shack's
make
gone.
it
So
would make sense. What you're saying makes sense, that they're going to have a ton of physical space that they can now utilize for other things. And what are those other things going to be? And yeah, PC parts might be the idea, potentially, but or going further into the PC repair business, where you maybe even go deeper, where you like partner with Dell and Lenovo, and you
mhm.
repair like commercial grade stuff enterprise level stuff at a Best Buy, that, or you offer that kind of service, maybe.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. That's an
you can
interesting
expand
thought.
you can expand your Geek Squad, because I didn't know a lot of people use Geek Squad like that, but a lot of people use Geek Squad. You'll be surprised how many people use Geek Squad. So
Hmm. Yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah,
but
you expand that, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't think this is going to affect games. I just that seems. That seems questionable for them to do that at this point right now. I don't think the business is that bad that even with Sony's data backing it up, I think Nintendo would carry it enough for them to justify keeping it. But maybe not, dude. Maybe not. Maybe it's slow enough that they're like, you know what, we need to pivot to something else and use this space better. It's just not making us enough money anymore, So we'll find out, I guess, if this report's true when Q1 rolls around, and we start hearing about Best Buys getting remodeled and shit. Um, you know, we'll see if it affects the games section of these stores. So, all right, Montreal, let's move on to our final story for the week. Is a rumor that seemingly is real. There was a LinkedIn profile from a Naughty Dog developer that claimed they had worked on The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us 2 remastered, seemingly confirming that A Last of Us Part 2 remaster for PS5 is coming. What do you make of this? We got The Last of Us 1 remake or remaster last year on PS5, and obviously that made a lot of people feel a certain type of way. But Last of Us 2, what do you think?
Uh, I guess that's how I feel. I guess, man.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I don't think it needs a remaster. If you was to give me like an update or something like that on the original game, cool. But what else can you remaster? Like, what are you remastering? Are you going to remaster? Yeah, like what else can you remaster? I don't know.
I mean, I
Like, I
would think
guess
it's just I kind of feel like this is just like going to be a misnomer situation, that I don't think this is going to be a remaster, or that they're probably going to call it remastered, but it's literally just going to be like a 60 frames 4K patch port, basically. Like that's
yeah,
what I would
that's what
imagine.
that's what I'm thinking too. I think it's going to be a 60 frames, 4K. There's already 60 frames. If you play it on PS5, right now, Last of Us 2 is 60 frames, but I do think
Okay.
it's going to be a 4K patch maybe. Um,
Yeah. Would that
where they
justify a
actually
new release at
no,
$70? No.
no, definitely not.
I would hope
And
they don't
and,
charge
and
that.
and to pay for a patch for 4K is actually kind of fucking stupid as well. Um, I don't know what you would remaster. Like, I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know what you would remaster because it doesn't make any sense. If you were to do that, the only reason they'll be doing that is to recoup their losses, because we calculated how much they probably lost,
Yeah.
and so it has to be to kind of recoup that loss.
Hmm.
Um, but why do it remaster when you can just work on
The next game.
the next game?
I
Yeah.
know they need
Or
to,
why do
like, this is something with Naughty Dog. I just they seemingly get distracted, and it's like the factions game is
I was
now
about to say
wasted
that,
a
like,
ton of their
you can do
time.
factions, you can put that effort into factions
Yeah.
and probably sell more than a remaster,
But
in
dude, we're
my
3
opinion.
years out from this game coming out. Over 3 years. Like The Last of Us Part 2 came out over 3 years ago, and like where's it, like when are we going to get the next game? Like 2026, 2027 probably is going to be the next like major Naughty Dog game. And I think this is the problem with Naughty Dog at this point, is they just spend a lot of time doing like they're not working on the next game right away. They take like a year or two to even decide they want to make that next game. And they just do other shit for like 2 years and don't fucking make anything. And it's. I think that's kind of the issue with this studio right now is like, because like realistically, when do you think we'll get The Last of Us Part 3? Assuming that's the next game.
You wanna know what I think? I think I don't think we're gonna get a game. I think it's gonna be incorporated in the TV show.
No.
That's what I think, bro.
I mean, I will say they do need to get it out before the TV show catches up.
I think this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it just makes sense. The Last of Us Part 2 lost Sony money.
Well, it didn't lose them money. It just didn't make them that much.
In my eyes, it lost them money.
It made them maybe $100 million, probably.
I thought they would. I think they were. I think they're still at a loss with the game. In my opinion, I think they lost money on that game. Because I don't want to say it's a flop, but in terms of how much they spent on it relative to what came out, I think it barely. I'll give it broke even. They broke even with the game. But I don't think Sony, because they wouldn't just let this game go. Like they wouldn't just let Naughty Dog, in my opinion, go like that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily saying they let them go, but like you wouldn't just have Bungie come in and say no to your game, cancel it, and then they cancel it. That to me shows that you lost your leverage within the company because your last project was not of significance. And if I was the CEO or whoever's running the budgeting and everything, I'll probably toss the idea to him like, hey, why don't you just kind of roll in the end of the story into the movie or into the TV show? It'll be cheaper for us.
I would be so upset.
I'm just thinking like in that level. I
would legitimately be pissed. Like,
and we know Neil Druckmann loves writing for. I mean, he always wanted to write for TV and stuff. I can honestly see that.
There's no way. I mean, what would they be working on instead, though, if it wasn't that? Like a new IP?
I don't know. They probably getting rid of the company. Probably disband the company, bro.
They're not doing this shit, dude. Naughty Dog is way too.
Man, we said this before, and we've seen important companies become support studios real quick.
Yeah, but they're like the prestige studio in the fucking first party, man. Like this is like, I mean, this is literally the most important studio, one of the most important studios in the world, relative to their position in the company they're a part of,
You're right. I 100% agree with you. I just don't think they're safe. That's what I'm saying.
I don't disagree with you. That's what I'm kind of been getting at, right? Is that their lack of success or overwhelming success, I guess I should say, with The Last of Us Part 2 and the fact that Factions fell off a cliff and isn't coming out now, probably, and that they've been working on 2 remasters of games, and we have no idea when The Last of Us 3 is anywhere even reality is gonna come. So, like, yeah, where's the revenue coming from this studio? At some point, Sony is going to evaluate them and be like, wait a second, like these guys aren't making us that much money. So I don't disagree with the notion that they could be in trouble, not right now, but maybe in a few years if things don't turn around. Like, let's say The Last of Us 3 comes out and it's similarly disappointing as The Last of Us 2 in terms of sales and revenue generated. I would think that would be the point where Sony would be like, wait a second, hold on. Is Naughty Dog worth it? How much their games cost us and what we're making off of them? Like, are we really getting the requisite value we need for this studio? So I don't disagree with that notion. I don't think they're in trouble at this moment, and I don't think they would sabotage their own studio by putting the continuation of the game's story into a TV show that a lot of their players aren't even going to watch, So I don't know. I like that would cause such an uproar. Like that would make me so mad. I would be so upset. I would literally not watch it if they did that. You know,
I mean,
so.
you're right. I'm just saying, like, I think that could be a possibility. You know what I'm saying? That I don't know. I don't want to put it out there in the energy. I don't want to put that energy out of there, but I do think it's like it is what it is with that, you know.
I just don't. No, I mean, again, I don't think your point. I don't think the point is off that Naughty Dog is not as ironclad as they used to be. I mean, when you compare them to like Ghost of Tsushima, which sold a similar amount of copies on a third of the budget, you know, it's like Sony has to look at that and be like, hold up, what? Like, give me a second, wait a second, like that doesn't reconcile, right? And then Horizon, significantly better, and then God of War also significantly better. I don't know what the budgets for those games were. I think Horizon was like 200 million or something. Forbidden West was like 200 million. So similar budget, but way bigger sales. You know.
Wait, so it sold better though?
Oh yeah,
Horizon,
definitely. I believe yes.
Damn. But see, that's what I'm talking about though. Like in my world, right? That shouldn't have happened. Horizon shouldn't have sold bit more than that than Last of Us. Last of Us is the flagship. Was the flagship game for PlayStation. When you thought of PlayStation, you thought of the Last of Us.
No,
or Uncharted,
yeah.
It
was Uncharted. Or God of War.
Yeah. Oh, God of War. Okay. Yeah, I can give you that.
But Horizon Forbidden West, you know, again, take this with a grain of salt. This is Wikipedia, but I do see this on a couple articles as well, that they've sold 8.4 million units as of April 2023. So they actually haven't eclipsed The Last of Us 2 sales quite yet. And so maybe not as good as The Last of Us Part 2, but still, Horizon seems like it's getting invested in though. I mean, then again, The Last of Us is also with the TV show, so I don't know. We could be poking at nothing. Maybe nothing's wrong, but or there's nothing to worry about. But I don't know. It's just something interesting to consider. But I don't know. A remaster of The Last of Us 2. I mean, it's not a surprise. They did this with The Last of Us 1 on PS4. You know, I kind of was expecting this actually personally, but what's the reaction to it going to be though? It'll probably be negative, especially if it's anywhere approaching $70 for a price. I don't think that would be justified personally.
Yeah, I can see a $30 remaster, but there's no way I'm paying $70 for it.
Is the upper limit to me.
Yeah, you're right. There's just no way I'm paying that much money, man.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not sure a lot of people would. So we'll see. All right, Montrell. Well, that's all we had for news. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss before we go today?
Nope. That's it for me.
All right. Let's get you out of here so you can pack. All right, everybody. If you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that'll be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next week. Bye.